Ah! Alright, let's see if it works now. Because I have been very frustrated with this. Fuck. You know what? I know what I fucked up. Hold on. I know where I fucked up. Hold on. Yes. Okay, is YouTube back? Is YouTube here? Or is the YouTube's working? Oh, shit. Is it not working? I might have to... Gods, Today... Ah! Okay, you're on take 2, right? Save. Are we... What's... Hello? Is it here? Or is it on a... What the fuck is going on? Oh, it went to a different thing. Son of a bitch. Okay, just... Yeah. Okay, we're editing this live because even though I set it to this, it's still not doing what I want it to do. I despise everything today. I am having a very not so good day. Oh, God. Okay, I want to go over here. I want to go to this. Let me change the fucking screen capture on this, and then boom, and then over this way, and put it on the Dicentra, and fucking bullshit. Okay. Dear gods. I hate OBS and I really don't like YouTube right now. Thank you for informing me that changes have been made. Ah! I'm really just you ever just been with something before? This is my moment. Okay, let's just make sure that when I hop in, I can see my mouse! Can you guys... Hold on. Give it a moment. Can you see the animated bits in the background, or did it freeze? Did it fucking freeze again? If I go over here, does it change screens? It does not. What the fuck? What the fuck is going on? Why are you... What is going on with OBS and not capturing this stuff? Wait. Okay, well, now I can see my mouse, but you guys can't see the fucking game. What the fuck? What is happening? Okay, what if I put it in windowed? Can you guys see that? Can you kind of see it? Why is that working? What the hell? We might just have to do it like this, because I want to stream today. Why the hell does it look so weird? Okay, hold on. Let me transform to fit to screen. Okay, if it works like this and you guys can see the game and all the animations, I will stream it like this. Jesus Christ, I don't even believe in him. Well, let's make sure everything else is working. This is... I swear to you guys, I check this before I go live. It was fine before I went live. It was a-okay. And now it's shit. I don't understand why it does this with certain games. Because here's the deal. For the entirety that I have been streaming on a PC, I've never had these issues until like about 2-3 weeks back when it updated. So I don't know what the fuck OBS did with their updates, but whatever they did, they need to undo it. Because it is making it so difficult to just do a simple screen capture and for it to, number one, have my cursor. And yes, I do have the capture cursor option on before anybody asks. I do have that for all of my screens because it's nice for me to see it. I'm a little weird about that. Number two, it fully stops recording the actual screen. It'll capture audio, it'll capture the cursor, but it will not actually capture the screen. It will either be a blank screen or it'll be like a screenshot of just one thing. Whatever they did, they need to undo it. Because I've tried display capture, I've tried window capture, I've tried game capture with all the different settings, with all different things going on. None of them fucking work, except for putting it into a windowed screen. What the fuck? Alright, let me make the... Oh, frick, I almost said OBS pose. I might just create, like, an OBS account just to bitch about it on the forums. And just be like, fix your shit, please. Kindly, Lady Evil. Brain, do not start with me. It is like 1:06. I wanted to have this live by 12:30 so I could be done by 3 o'clock and do some other things because I've got a lot of like stuff I need to catch up on in regards to February art projects. But here we are! Son of a bitch! Don't get me wrong, I like hanging out with you guys. But I like keeping to a particular schedule if I can. Hey, vampire. Okay, let's double check the audio. It's recording everything fine. Hello, hello, hello. Awesome. Alright, we're gonna go live on TikTok, which I know that's not the fucking problem. If it is, I might hurt you. I might ride up to TikTok Studio or whatever it is, and I might just start living in their walls. I might just start living in their walls to spite them, just like with Blizzard. Okay. Oh, I hate that I can see the bottom of everything now. Oh, I hate it. I hate it so much. This is why I like playing full screen, because I get distracted by other stuff. But Take 2 Electric Boogaloo, welcome to Dicentra. If you have not seen the playlist before, if you haven't watched any of the videos that I've made last year, starting around February, actually. I think I played this around February. Dicentra is a narrative, very... I had a script for this and now it's gone. Shit! This is what you do to me, OBS! This is what you do! Oh, dear gods. It is a narrative-heavy horror game. You only have a few options to make in the game, but they are, number one, time-sensitive. Number two, they do change the ending to the game. There are a total of 5 endings to this game. 5. There's 5! There's 1 good ending, 3 bad endings, and then a secret ending, which I have yet to get. And, as you can see here, I got 1 ending already. I'm surprised it remembers, to be honest. Because I haven't played this in over a year, so. This is actually one of my favorite, well, number 1, it's my favorite visual novel, and number 2, it's one of my favorite horror games. Now, I don't know if you guys would constitute it as a horror game as we go through this. We only have like 4 hours to work with today, but we'll see. We shall see. So let me go ahead and get this going. Also, this was at a request of Craig last night, so yeah. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I do. This game contains content and themes on death, loss, grief, and violence, animal death, imprisonment, and a few other things, such as mental illness and suicide. If you are not cool with that, if you can't handle that, check out some of my other videos. Watch Minecraft. I played Minecraft last night. There's a whole playlist, and I'll catch you guys live tomorrow when we play World of Warcraft. This is your warning now to vacate the premise and not be here. Okay? Alright. That's it. I think to be curious is to be brave. Because to be curious is to risk buckling under the weight of your choices. And to remain evergreen means you might never truly know yourself. My breath comes out in smudges of white clouds as I limp through the rain, and blurs my vision, resigning me to relying on touch and my most basic instincts as I make my way through the forest, with wind crushing against me from all sides. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, you guys might just want to leave me on in the background because we're probably not going to be able to talk a lot. It's literally just going to be this. I'm reading you a book, okay? This is story time with evil. I've never been much for prayer, but would it be too late to start now? Digging my claws into something might just make me feel less alone right now. Then again, which of the gods would accept my penchants? I fumble over tangles of roots and slip over wet moss. My bones instantly shudder from cold shock that shoots up my arms as my nails grab onto a nearby rock. The cuts all over my body start to sting again, and a pathetic whine escapes my throat. My grandmother would click her virulent tongue at me if she could see me now. I can hear her snide remark already.
See what happens when you don't listen to me?
As if I wouldn't survive long enough to hear the real deal. I sniffle in frustration and try to shake the feeling away with the rain dripping down my face. She's always right, of course. For a moment, I thought I had finally gotten what I wanted so badly. Earned all my own, in spite of how it was always placed out of my reach. It was almost worth the consequences that came after. Ooh. Lost in thought, I lose control of my limbs. I'm not used to controlling all at once, and it's enough to throw me back into the slick earth. My eyes begin to burn, and the pain that drags along my body suddenly starts to overwhelm me. The storm above is harsh, and the thick canopy of trees above me does little to curtail its rage. Instead, the trees passively turn their leaves away. If I had the guts, I'd throw my grandmother's most colorful curses at them. My gaze sorrowfully trails to the moon, wondering if she would be willing to rally against them in my defense. Who could intimidate the spirits in the wind better than the grave daughter on the night of her visit? I watch her as if she might truly descend from the sky, but like every other night where she turns her face to the ground, she bears no sign of acknowledgement in the slightest. Warily, I force myself to take a deep breath. I shakily lift myself from the ground, trying hard to ignore the bite of pain that comes from my arm. Lately, the summer weather has been fickle. The long, stretched weeks have surrendered to an endless cycle of torrid heat waves and thunderous rainstorms, and, to my chagrin, I've been caught in a relentless sheet of downpour. The rain comes down like shards of ice against my skin, like it falls with the intent to hurt. In the puddle in front of me, I watch it disturb. In the puddle in front of me, I watch it disturb the murky surface with a chorus of ripples. In the brief moments where the reflections almost settles, I see piercing yellow eyes, dark fur, and wilted ears, sleek and clinging to the small, vulnerable form of a wolf pup. And that's us! Isn't he cute? Also, thank you, Jay, for the roses. Thank you very much. Oh, you get the poor puppy. Oh, poor little guy. He's living a harsh life right now. I'm gonna have to make myself some more tea. Dear gods, I've been sitting here for like the last 40 minutes just getting things, like trying to fix everything in a rush. The voice of my grandmother hisses in my mind.
What have you done, Basil?
I stare into my reflection, and silence frames the grief that lodges into my throat. I need to get back home. I tear away from the puddle and shrug on.
Damn it! Stop! I need everything to stop. It's bullshit. I'm trying to enjoy my time. I'm trying to have a good time. Stop.
Oh, God. Oh, jeez. Okay, we're fine. I tear away from the puddle and trek on. Please, something lead me back home. Something, anything. I wonder if it's a wise thing to send a wish out into the unknown, because to make it tangible is to lose control of who or what finds it. Has exhaustion finally reached my mind? Because I swear, something in the dark answers. It's so faint, I question if it's even real. A howl cuts through the wind, or perhaps it's the wind that shrinks away from the sound that ambles through. Fighting my way through the storm has left my body hollow. My mind might no longer remember what reason is. All my instincts scream to ignore it, but my heart, a stupidly curious thing, makes me take a step forward. My fuzzy ears pick up the heavy sound of my heart pounding. I try to convince myself it's because of fear. I need to focus on where the howling's coming from. As I move closer to the sound, it begins to resemble what I can only assume to be crying. The storm also starts to mysteriously retract its claws. Is it the forest showing mercy, or has it submitted to something more formidable? I've lived in the woods my whole life. I should know better than anyone to never get too comfortable. A red light perforates that permeates. I would feel like permeate would be the better word, but I digress. A red light permeates the dark atmosphere. I swallow harshly. There's a mansion in the middle of the woods. Hey, Craig. Dicentra. Yeah, I finally got it working. Yay! From a distance, it would look abandoned, if not for the hazy red light coming from the rooftop. I squint. Is that a greenhouse? The silhouette of a figure moves quickly behind the looming glass windows, startling me. I duck into the tall and neglected grass that surrounds the shadowed manor. After a short while, I peek through the blades. The shadow is gone. Did I just imagine it? I release a nervous sigh and observe the grounds for any signs of life or death. It was a bad idea to come here. A terrible one, even. I can't stay here. I retreat back into the forest's brambled embrace, keeping the mansion in my light of sight. I can't remember if this was made by developers who don't necessarily speak English, or if it just had bad grammar at times. Or if it was just a design style. The moment I feel bold enough to turn my back against it, a powerful gale slams into me. I tumble back hard, skidding across the ground and into the tall grass with a cry. It takes me a moment to recover from my swirling vision. My wounds scream at me, and I wonder how much further I can even go in this state. I grit my teeth and get back on my feet, keeping my weight off my arm, and as I make for the forest again. Again, I'm denied entry by the mysterious force. Panic starts to seep through my bones, and I swallow against the tightness that now constricts my heart. I stare at the trees as though they'll suddenly start playing nice, but these woods were likely old enough to witness the earth before the heavens left it marred with holy fire. They'll waste not a second more in aiding me. The wind gives me one more shove. It insists I move forward. I bare my adolescent canines at it to disguise the sting from its manipulation. I face the mansion once again. It's clear that something or someone from the inside is inviting me in. With no other choice, I creep along the worn brick walls of the mansion and try to find a way in.
Got soup.
Hey Joe, breaking news. Energizer Bunny arrested and charged with battery. I see what you did there. How about we go to a window? I kind of wish it was more dark out. Yeah, it's very bright today, which is surprising because the last week it's been super, super dark here. And probably at a max, I've gotten like 10 minutes of sunlight every day. Not for lack of not trying, though. I've gone to the sunroom and just been like, vitamins! Oh, nice rainy day. Yes, I can't deal with this thunderstorm because the internet has been iffy, but, you know. Word icy is the easiest to spell. I-C-Y. Alright, let's go to a window, shall we? I spy a broken window and see a gauzy white curtain thrashing against the glass from the intruding storm. Sadly, it's far too high for me to climb, and there's no way I can jump in this state. I jump at a nearby clap of thunder. My eyes blink through the rain, and I squint when the searing white light of the lightning above reflects on something that sits on the windowsill. I take a step back and see a simple white vase that holds a gathering of withered roses. Perhaps I can take this as proof the mansion can safely serve as an empty shelter for the night. I turn and look for somewhere else to enter. Alright, let's check the cellar door. I find an entrance to a cellar. The wood of the doors looks rotten, but it doesn't give when I place 2 paws on it and push my weight into it. My ears flick back in disappointment. This is gonna happen a lot. Though I'm also relieved I didn't go tumbling through the old wood into some unknown depth. Heavy iron handles sit unchained. All I need to do is find a way to open them. I try to squeeze my snout through one of the handles, and as I bring my face closer to the moldy wood, a faint sound comes from below. I immediately freeze. Icy rain weighs down my fur and intensifies the chill that drapes over me like a thick cloak. I swallow, then lean forward to press one of my droopy ears against the door. I listen closely, and as somebody's phone starts to buzz. I listen closely, and serpentine hisses come from the other side of the wood. My breathing stills. My ears remain glued to the door. I try to find sense in the sounds I hear, then something slams right against the wood where my ear is pressed against it, and I fling back in shock. The fur against my neck is completely ruffled, and my tail curls between my legs in fright. I stare at the cellar doors with owlish eyes, half expecting a beast to burst out and eat me. But nothing happens. Still, my racing heart does not calm as I trek through the muddy grass in search of some other entrance. I go somewhere else, then. Let me move that out of the way. Just like right there. There you go. Okay. A faint knocking grabs my attention. I pad to the back of the mansion, and my saving grace comes in the form of a door left slightly ajar. Ha-ha! I nudge my nose into the tight gap, and relief washes over me when it parts. Ah! Don't like that. An ear-piercing screech echoes through the mansion as the door's hinges begin to shift. From the looks of it, they haven't moved for a long time. The feeling of ice floods my veins. I stay frozen in the doorway. If the mansion is occupied, there's no way I didn't just announce my entrance. Fear takes over again. My back paw intuitively steps back so I can attempt to run as far away from this place as I can. The sound of thunder explodes behind me, and I feel my body take on a life of its own as I throw myself into the mansion against my will. No choice. We're just going. The door slams on my way in. I breathe shallowly. When I come to my senses, I'm in a kitchen. It's dark inside the house. The only source of light is the muffled moonlight that comes from the windows above the counters. Everything beyond its reach is a void. I see a kitchen table and crawl towards it, scratching my nails along the musty wood flooring in a rush to get beneath it. I stay under the table as my breathing starts to return to a normal pace. My eyes are wide and my ears are perked up, on the lookout for anything that could be a threat. The only sounds I pick up are the heavy drums of rain from outside and the occasional creak of the mansion walls breathing in the night air. When I'm confident that there's no sign of life in my vicinity, I crawl back into the open and immediately shake off as much rain and mud as I can. I let myself celebrate the minor luxury of finally escaping the maws of the weather, but I don't let my paranoia slip from its mooring just yet. As soon as my eyes assimilate to the dark, I take the time to study my surroundings. I notice a hearth that lacks any recent maintenance. Dishes crowd in the countertops, and a thick layer of dust has me smothering a sneeze. This place hasn't been occupied in a long time. Surely I can allow myself to breathe just a little bit easier in this space, at least until the storm wanes. I bring in a deep inhale, careful not to get any dust up my sensitive nose, and tread cautiously. As I sneak further in, I hold my breath at every corner, carefully looking in all directions for danger. The rest of the mansion is as devoid of life as the kitchen. Most of the rooms here have been closed. The ones I could see in were graciously empty, except for the derelict furnishings within. Barely anything in decent shape. I couldn't guess how long it's been since a human lived in this manner, but based on the scratched hardwood floors and the broken but intricate-looking side table nestled in a dark corner, I have the impression that this place was neglected even while it was occupied. My nails tap on the floor as I limp into the hallway, my mind finally settling from all the adrenaline. The ache in my front leg starts to swell, and the heat of my body intensifies the pain. I try to admire the paintings lining the walls from end to end, but it's hard to see them in the dark. I just noticed we're a dog. Yeah. We're a little pup. Oh, dear. Also, we're named Basil. I was like, why are we crawling on the ground? We fell out of our wheelchair. Fuck! Oh, dear. Through glimpses of light, I could only make out some faded landscapes, a few mountains, some castles, and a couple of portraits. One portrait in particular catches my eye. I stop in front of it. I stare at the portrait, foolishly thinking that it's staring right back. The rising heat in my body must be making me see things. As I observe the side profile of a pale woman, I notice that she is eerily the most realistic painting I've seen so far. The texture in her skin and hair is so lifelike. I feel like I could feel it if I were to reach up and touch the canvas. When she turns her head to look down at my tiny form, every hair on my body goes stiff. Her lovely features captured in oil begin to melt off as she steps out from the painting. Smooth ivory skin shrivels to a deathly pallor. The elaborate gown clinging to her sharp shoulders begins to rot as her torso parts open like a blooming rose, revealing decaying bone and organs that run down her skirt in horrific patterns. I immediately start running away as fast as I physically can. As I scramble to get away on my hurt leg, I hear something that might be far worse than a ghost. The woody and spicy scent of incense filling the humid air, creating a hazy purple fog. The sound of chains moving in a controlled rhythm rattles me to the marrow in my bones. Footsteps follow shortly after, growing louder alongside the clinking chains. It's coming from the staircase. My breath quickens. I slide to a halt and backtrack away from the sounds. I look behind me and see the glowing apparition of the woman's hunched form stumbling towards me, dragging a trail of gore with a wet squelch. Hide! I need to hide. But where? I start across every inch of the hallway, desperately searching for a small sanctuary. The footsteps are right behind me. The ghost is right in front of me. This hallway feels like a tomb. All the doors are firmly shut. I press against a wall, my heart skipping a beat when I notice a faint tapping sound coming from behind me. I turn around and witness the outline of a door revealing itself. I waste no time shoving my muzzle between the crack to wrench it open. As soon as I pry the door open, I hurl myself through and back into the darkness. I walk backwards away from the door, keeping my eyes on it. I'm so focused on the door that I bump into something cold and almost trip over it. I look up and see a dark iron staircase curling up to a high ceiling. A hatch near the top is open, letting the rain from outside drip down onto the cold metal. I hear footsteps once again, this time much louder. I don't dare to breathe or move. There you are. The voice startles me into moving. No way was I about to stick around and find out what fate awaits me. Every fiber of my being rings with danger as I climb the stairs. Adrenaline is the only thing that signals my limbs into moving. I drag myself up the iron steps until I'm bursting onto the roof and back into the storm. A fog of fright muddles my mind. I see the greenhouse I had spotted earlier and sprint towards it as fast as I can. I search for a small space to crawl into, tripping over a mess of vines along the way. Thunder and lightning roar above me. A bright flash of white blinds me. I can feel my claws scratching against the wet tiles. The door slams shut in the distance, causing a rippling effect in the walls and reaching the rooftop. When the rippling stops, everything goes quiet. The energy of the manor shifts completely. A jolt of lightning from the storm makes my fur stand. It charges the air and saturates it with the smell of ozone. I shake the rain from my face. The whole world has fallen silent, except for the sound of a chilling drip. Basil. I freeze. My eyes carefully follow the coil of dead roots on the gray floor of the greenhouse. I follow its trail all the way to the blood dripping onto the dirty tiles and the pale feet beside it. My eyes climb the mysterious figure. I don't think I'll ever forget the sight before me for as short as I live. Lightning flashes brightly through the tall windows. Looming rose bushes creep along them. White roses speckled across its dark leaves like stars in the night sky. The bright flowers begin to bleed red before my very eyes. At the rosebush's crimson-soaked center, a small girl stands with her back towards me. Blood drips from tiny bite marks all over her hand. A red flower bulb is crushed between her delicate fingers. Instead of a strong floral scent, the smell of burning paper and wilting lilacs floods my senses. I hate this is working. Who do they know or name? Don't trust! How do they know us? A whine unwillingly crawls up my throat and cuts through the silence. Time resumes once again. The girl turns. Her gaze pierces right through me. The bulb drops from her hand. She doesn't say a word. Her attention is mine, whether I want it or not. Black dots begin to appear in the corners of my vision. The last thing I see is her walking towards me. Before everything fades to black. My fever is brutal throughout the night. I slip in and out of consciousness to flames beneath my skin and an ache I'd rather sleep off than face. I try to make my body go back to sleep, but rough hands force my jaws open and I feel something shoved down my throat. The intrusion makes me violently resist, but I'm far too weak to fend the intruder away. The dark takes me into its arms once again. I awake to the tang of rusty metal and humid air. The unfamiliar sensation makes my eyes snap open. Beyond the small cage that holds me, it's dark and damp. I clench my jaw as I examine my surroundings. Soon my eyes fixate on the ghost staring at me from outside my metal prison. I yelp and throw my body backwards, hitting the back of my cage. I expect the bite of hard metal on my back, but something smooth bends around my shape instead. It hisses at me in response. I don't think I like that very much. My claws scrape the cold floor of the cage as I spin. The bars behind me morph into slithering vipers in defensive stances, each one baring its fangs in anger. Careful. Their venom will make the blood in your body solidify in seconds. That wouldn't be a very pleasant way to die. I look at the ghost in horror. I'm breathing so quickly that I'm convinced I'll die from lack of oxygen, or so I think. The vipers settle back into metal bars, and I make myself small. I don't want to risk testing their patience again. The ghost is not a ghost, but a girl. Her hair looks like ink that's been violently knocked over and spilled onto the floor. It melts into the dark surroundings, contrasting her gray, sickly-looking skin. You know what it sounds like? A vet visit from a dog's vision. That it does. We're at the vet. Shit! No! You can't do this! You're not taking my balls! Oh, gods. Oh, dear. Her expression is blank. I see her hands tightly clutch her white gown. Do you bite? Do you? I reveal my teeth through a snarl and watch as she shows hers with a small smile. The fur along my spine stands up. She starts to move and I flinch. The girl crawls towards the cage and I curl my nails. She reaches for me, the pale hand passing between the bars without resistance. It freezes right in front of my snout. Is she checking to see if I would really bite? Has she no fear, offering her hand so fiercely in the presence of a beast? I may only be a pup, but the sheer force of my jaws can pierce right through her palm. Let's back away from her hand. I pull my face away from her hand and see her startle from my peripheral vision. She pulls her hand back and holds it against her collar. My eyes lock with hers as she stares at me with her lips pressed together. I think she expected me to bite her. It'll be hard for me to protect you if you're too scaredy cat to do as I say. I snap back to the girl. I watch as she stands up and wipes her hands on her dress, not showing a single care for how dirty it's become. If you want to survive, you'll have to listen to my instructions. 'Kay, doggy? She tilts her head like she expects me to respond. Oh, don't try to be too brave.
You can only survive this place if you're smart. The others had too much fight in them. Made them foolish.
My heart pounds in my chest from her words alone. She gives me another haunting smile.
When your arm is better, I'll take you for a walk before he gets back.
Is this what she sounds like when she's excited? It's unsettling. She suddenly moves close to the cage again, and I jump back and away, just enough not to risk getting into trouble with the vipers. The scent of burning parchment and wilting lilacs returns. The girl's hair falls off her shoulders. I expected ink to trickle down and dye her dress black.
My name is Dove.
Horrible to meet you, Dove. Chapter 1. Roses. I want you to realize that the dog, us, Basil, we cannot talk. This is all an internal monologue. Oh, God. I'm actually gonna have to grab something to eat here in a moment, just because I can feel like my sugar's starting to drop just from anxiety earlier trying to fix everything. I really hate that. I hate that's a thing right now. What? We're 40 minutes in, so I'll... yeah. See how far we can go.
Ah! Damn it.
Jeez. Then I gotta make some more tea. Let's try and get as far as we can before the break. I spend the night nursing the dredges of my fever. When I'd first woken up, I didn't take notice of how much had already been soothed. But now vague memories of violating hands surface in my thoughts. Did the girl, Dove, give me some kind of medicine during the height of my fever? My body still feels uncomfortably warm. I rest my head on one arm and glance at the one that'd been hurt earlier. A clean bandage is wrapped firmly around it, not enough to cut off blood flow, but enough to restrict its movement. Was this also Dove's handiwork? I sigh softly through my nose, then close my eyes. Time passes ambiguously in the cage, with nothing to reference. I don't know if it's been mere hours or days. A bowl of water sits in the corner of my cage. I know from the dryness of my throat that I need to hydrate, but I have yet to muster up the courage to approach the bars that slither and rattle every so often. When I'm desperate enough to finally quench my thirst, the bars maintain their metal forms to my relief. Feeling better now, I curl into a ball and my tail cradles my face. I want to go home. Exhaustion catches up to me once again. I fall asleep on crusty metal and wake on a dusty wood. The sound of wind chimes alerts me into consciousness. My eyes snap open, and my retinas are immediately burned by the color that floods into them. On the floor in front of me is a kaleidoscope of lights created by the morning sun. A stark contrast to the dark and dreary setting I was previously confined to. Yeesh. I would love to see the dog wearing a fedora with a cigar. Oh, Basil. You and your gosh darn cigars. Oh dear. Maybe I dreamed it all in a feverish haze. I checked the gauze around my arm. No, it's still there. A weight around my neck brings me back into focus. A collar is secured around my throat. Attached to it is a long and heavy chain that leads to the leg of a large wardrobe in the corner of the room. The bedroom. I take in my latest cage. No longer venomous bars to keep me, but the state of confinement has not changed. Conditions have not improved. Morale very low. My eyes move from the rainbows on the floor to the line of the chain restraining me, then to the rest of the room. I look at the windows and find swirling murals and expressive paintings of various creatures and monsters. The sun behind them illuminates the floor with speckles of color like a stained glass window. Past the frame of the window, the drawings continue in nonsensical scrawls. Less art decorates the walls, but shelves with cracked Bleh. But shelves with cracked plant pots hanging tangles of ivy take their place. Dirty cups sit forgotten in a dark corner. I briefly note 2 shallow dishes near where I lay. They look like they would be used by a pet. Judging from the surprising lack of grime from under them, it hasn't been that long since they were last used. Dusty books and crumbled parchment litter the floorboards. Taking up half the room is a canopied bed. Dark curtains are pulled tightly together, preventing me from seeing inside. The sound of scratching captures my attention. I drag my gaze past piles of books. There, sitting on a raggedy blanket, hunched over and scribbling over the print in a book, is Duff. She gnaws on her lip and pinches her brows. I can hear her whispering something to herself. No. That won't work. I slowly lift myself off the floor, cringing at the sound of clanking chains following my movement. Duff makes no move to acknowledging my presence, so I continue approaching her. When I'm closer to her back, I'm able to get a better look at what she's furiously writing. Scribbles of occult symbols make the words on the pages completely illegible. I swallow a lump in my throat. The collar around my neck feels very heavy right now. Duff suddenly tears a page from the book. The jarring sound makes me jump, and I slam into a tower of books, sending it toppling to the floor. Dread weighs heavily on me. What's the name of this game? It's Dicentra, like the flower, Dicentra. You can find it on itch.io. It's a free game. So if anybody ever wants to play this, I do have a link in the YouTube description, so... But you can look it up on itch.io under visual novels. I look back at Dove. She's now staring at me with wide eyes. You're awake! I release a small yelp and stare at her dumbfounded. She's brighter. Or maybe it's the luminous light filtering through the bedroom window. Something about it paints her in a rose-tinted lens that makes my weariness waver. That feeling instantly vanishes when she gets up and rushes towards me. I run away as fast as my legs allow me, but my air supply is abruptly cut off and I'm thrown off my feet. Sharp howls pulled from my throat. Oh, poor Basil. I look behind me and see the chain of my collar is pulled taut. I'd reached its limits. I then see Dove standing in the spot I had bolted from. Her gaze creeps along the chain, making its way to my crumbled form. Icy blue eyes stare into mine, and I shudder. It feels like she could unravel me through sight alone. She looks at me like she knows. Then she perks up, snapping the tension away. Oh, right. You're probably starving. The others were also very skittish when they had empty bellies. Her voice trails off as though she'd become lost in thought. She starts weaving through the mess of book piles to reach the bedroom door. Wait here! I don't have much of a choice. Dove returns with a bread bowl. With a bread bowl. Big ass bread bowl! No! Dove returns with a bread roll and a bowl. That's what I was trying to say. She sets the bowl down a couple of feet in front of me and retreats back to chew on her own food. I attentively approach it. The bread smells like heaven. Like my lips on instinct. It must have been ages since I last ate, because I watch her tear... Or... Wait. Okay. I did... Sorry, I read ahead a little bit. My brain was like, hold on! Wait a second! It must have been ages since I last ate, because I watch her tear chunks from it and mark every little crumb falling into her white dress with yearning. I look down at the bowl she left for me. The sight of red, fleshy chunks grates me. Raw meat. She gave me a bowl of raw meat. I can't eat this. No. Or, well, maybe I could? But the idea of it has nausea coursing through me. I stare at the fresh blood pooling at the bottom of the bowl, and I glance over at the bread, then back at the bowl, feeling conflicted. My stomach growls. I can feel saliva start to drip down the side of my mouth. I can't do it.
Are you gonna let it go to waste?
God, woman, please. Dove's voice comes from right above me, and fear flutters in my stomach.
Okay, then.
My eyes snap up. Dove reaches for me, and I flinch, scattering away. She kneels in front of the bowl and dips her hand into it, crushing a fistful of squishy red meat between her fingers. She brings the raw meat to her mouth. You have the option to I watch her or I freak out. At this point, I don't think she's gonna do anything to us. What are you talking about, Basil? Oh god. We watch her eat it because what else? Bile rises in my throat as I watch her chew through the raw flesh and swallow it with a sickly gulp. She covers her mouth with the back of her hand and gags, then looks at me. She smiles at me, her teeth stained in a glistening red. Oof.
What a horrible taste.
A thin stream of blood falls from the corner of her mouth.
I suppose you'd like something a little more appetizing.
She gags again, then runs out of the room. Girl, why would you do that to yourself? I hear the sound of her retching from another room. Dove returns with a new bowl of what looks like a stew. I inspect it thoroughly, checking for insects or anything inedible. Ew. Yeah. Like, why would she do that? What you're not tough just because you did that. Girl, come on. When I surmise that there's nothing of the sort, I dig in greedily. My eyes begin to sting after the first few bites. The stew is so bland. Oh, bland stew. It's torture. Get me out of here. This is the true horror. It makes me yearn for my grandmother's cooking so badly. From the corner of my eye, I can see Dove watching me like a hawk. Like a single blink is enough to make me vanish. If only I could. As I finish eating the stew, a soft thudding captures my attention. I look back to see my tail wagging against the floor. I feel myself shrink with embarrassment. I immediately cease its movement, but not before Dove takes notice.
Looks like your energy has returned.
Her eyes move to my arm.
Does it still hurt?
I stare at Dove, then hesitantly put my weight on my wrapped-up arm. The sharp pain is mostly gone, but a dull ache still remains. If the opportunity for me to run away came, I could probably do it, but not without difficulty. I make a frustrated whine. Dove tilts her head at me, considering my reply. She approaches me again, slowly this time. I hold my breath as she comes close, her hands hovering near the collar around my neck. I'm suddenly hyper-aware of how quiet it is. There's no drum of rain or crack of thunder to be heard from outside. Hope dares to grow inside my racing heart.
You hurt me if I take it off.
I answer her. I shake my head slightly. Dove gives me a curious look. Her hands hover for a short moment, then she nods. The weight of the collar lifts from my shoulders. Then I bolt. And then I fucking race for the door. My swift escape shoves Dove aside. I barely see her get thrown to the floor as I make for the open bedroom door. Dove makes a panicked noise behind me. Fades out in my rush to leave her behind. Then I'm back in the hallway where the horrors began. I need to go back to the kitchen. I sprint to the stairs. And suddenly I'm skidding to a stop where a wall meets me at the end of the hall instead of a staircase. I stare in confusion. Did I go the wrong way? I look around the hall. I don't remember seeing this many doors. A sinking feeling unravels in my gut. I run down a new hallway. Then turn into another. Then another. My exploration of the manor was cut short when I'd first arrived, so maybe I can't remember everything well enough. But I swear, these are not the same halls I've walked before. After I turn into hallway number 15, in this new labyrinth, the sound of something being dragged cuts off my thoughts. I look behind me, fear pulsing in my veins. A ghostly figure slowly walks down the cross-section of another hall. Long hair protrudes from its head, running down to the floor, stiffly like straw and hiding most of its long, thin limbs. I watch it disappear around the corner, completely frozen in my spot. Another ghost. I've never seen one this corrupted before. I now feel extremely vulnerable, like a beacon standing in a long and open corridor. A tapping noise is next. My heart pounds violently in my chest as I search for the sound. I immediately see another ghost heading straight for me. I yelp and crush myself against the wall as if it'll make me invisible. This ghost staggers towards me with bony knees knocking together. A thin veil curtains its upper body, and something that resembles a bird's beak peeks out at its chest. Attack. Run. You know what? I think we are transformed dog, but we still have humans' memory. Train! Hold on. Might as well get my drink in while the train's going by. Oh. Oof, jeez. Alright. The closer it gets, the better I'm able to make out the detail of its leathery skin, and the beady, bloodshot eyes that dapple across its face above the rotting beak. Needle-thin arms bend sharply at the elbow and reach back behind the ghost's head. It balances on its elbows and pulls itself forward on them. I make myself paper-thin and shiver when part of its elbow brushes against one of my own paws. I start breathing again when it passes quietly, then back away into an intersection of hallways. Another ghost almost tramples me! God. Two ghosts follow one another down the hall of the bird-like ghost. One is a clutter of what looks like fungi and twisting fabric that melts into bumpy flesh. A stringy network of mycocillin trails behind it. The other creature creates a sound of glass crunching together with every steady step it takes. Its arms stick out like pieces of wood that lightly swing as it walks. And where its face should be is a void, framed by jagged, broken pieces of porcelain skin. I can still make out the raggedy maid uniform that clings to its bloated form. I follow the ghosts in a trance. Like a line of school children, they walk along a well-known path. Normally, when a ghost is corrupted from being trapped in the land of the living, every semblance of their humanity is lost. So where do these ghosts stalk to with so much purpose? They navigate the hallways without hesitation, twisting and turning through a route already well worn. And so painfully easy. I have been led back to the kitchen. I see Dove standing on the kitchen table, delicately twisting an incandescent bulb into the hanging light fixture. Dried black tears stain her cheeks, but her expression betrays no sign of dejection. Another bulb is held loosely in her other hand. This one has been burnt out so badly that no light can penetrate its ashy, blackened surface. It took 40 years to develop this type of filament. The ghosts surround her. I watch them reach for her, and I open my jaws to bark out a warning, but I choke on my rising panic. Dove doesn't notice them and continues to screw in the bulb. I read that these bulbs can stay lit for up to 1,200 hours. Claws brush against her skirt. And yet, after less than a week, Their legacy of fighting the dark has been snubbed out forever. With one last twist of her wrist, light envelops the room. Something so wonderful. Dove stares into the bulb's light and her fingers caress the glass. Only breaks in a place like this. The ghosts have vanished. Dove gives no hint of awareness for their presence, had just left. My blood thuds in my ears. Could she not see them? I look at the door that I had used to enter the mansion. I hear Dove dust off her hands and toss the old bulb into a box where it shatters amongst other pieces of glass. She sighs wearily. How long will this cycle continue for? I barely hear her words. Instead, I stare at the wall where the back door should be. And there is no door. I immediately freak out. Reasonable response. I run to the wall, ignoring the ache of my arm, and scratch at old wallpaper, hoping the door was only hidden behind it. My claws tear through wood, but as I continue scratching, the outline of a door does not reveal itself. I back away, staring at the shredded decoration and breathing rapidly. It's not there anymore. I turn my head up and see Dove sitting on the kitchen table, swinging her legs. She stares at the wall I had torn up and gives me a blank expression. I explode. My body ignites with fiery rage as I growl and snarl at her. Bark! Poor little guy. She frowns and her eyes turn downcast with guilt. I don't know how to get it back. Force her to help. I look past Dove and see the window. I perk up. The window! We can break it! I pause and take note of how far the window is from the floor. Oh, wait. Bark! Woof! Boof! Boofin'! Well, maybe not me. Dove sits on the table looking bored. I take a deep breath. Dove jumps and her eyes swirl. Yeah, we're gonna need that break. Dove jumps and her eyes swivel down to me. What? I point my nose at the window and it takes Dove a second to understand my gesture. She blinks, then turns her head to the window. Her lips frown in confusion. Window? She looks down at me with a furrowed brow. What about it? My tail wags behind me. I ignore it and look around for something that will help her understand what I want. I spot a stool underneath the table and my ears stand up straight. Dove leans over and watches me drag the stool out with my teeth. I throw my body weight back to pull it out until it falls over. Then I look at Dove and point my snout at the window again. She hops up the table and picks up the stool. Oh, excuse me. She holds it up, still wearing a befuddled expression. You want me to... She raises a brow at me. Put it by the window? I huff. Throw it at the window? I nod, and my tail wags quickly. Dove looks at the window hesitantly. She stares at a reflection in glass. I've never tried breaking the windows before. Dove stumbles slightly when I grab the bottom of her dress and lead her to it. When I feel her slightly resist, I look up, and Dove's face appears paler than I thought was possible. I see her swallow before she starts moving on her own. She climbs onto the counter with the stool in her hands. It slips slightly in her grip, and she wipes her hand on her dress. Ooh, she's anxious. Somebody's nervous. She raises the stool, and my heart starts to quicken. The stool comes down, then stops. I whine in confusion. Dove stares into the window with wide eyes. I follow her line of sight, then see it. A pale hand grips Dove's arm. I look past it and let out a sharp cry. Dove's reflection stares back with blackened eyes and a wide, distorted smile that leaks dark bile. I can see Dove's hand tremble, then the reflection speaks.
Bad girl. You should know better by now.
The familiar feeling of cold spreads through my veins. I hear Dove's breath hitch. Then I hear something else. Tiny wooden footsteps fill the silence. I stay completely still and slowly slide my pupils to see small flutters of movement from the shadows in my peripheral. I hold my breath. The footsteps start to grow louder. I hear Dove hiccup and my eyes slide back to her in a panic. The reflection crushes Dove's wrist. Black webs spread from where they touch. Its beady eyes crinkle as its grin stretches wider. Then it pulls Dove in closer until their foreheads almost touch.
Behave, Dove.
The reflection barks out a howling laugh, then shoves Dove away from the window. Dove shrieks and flails her arms. I yelp and throw myself under her to soften the fall. She crushes me with her weight, and we fall into a messy heap on the floor. My vision swirls, and my whole body rages in agony. The sound of the reflection's laughter fades away, and wooden feet start to retreat to my relief. And that's where we're going to take a break. Yay! Why is the dog so philosophical? Yo, look out the window! We already looked at the window. The window attacked us! Oh, gods. Alright. Alright, Parko. They'll be back, and we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Oh, fuck. No! Okay, hold on. I want to save. And I want to go to the break screen. Okay. Okay. Whoo, boy. That is... Yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm gonna put some music on for you guys, and then we will return to some more Dicentra. Hold on. I'm gonna put on some nice happy music. How about that? Would you guys like that? I think you'll like that. You'll like it. You'll like it or else. Alright, I'm gonna go grab something to eat and some tea. I'll be back. Sorry if it... Oh, hold on. Sorry if that took a little extra long. I had to go talk with my mom real quick. And I also had to grab something to eat. Yay! Got some bean salad. Y'all like some bean salad? I like me some bean salad. This is actually really good. It's been marinating in a vinaigrette for about 5 days. Oh. For those of you who don't know, I'm Baltic. I like my vinegar-based dishes. This is it. This is seriously hitting the spot. It's got a... Let me bring you guys back in real quick. Hold up. Hold up. Boop. Also, for those of you who don't know what this game is, if you're just joining, who've been here for a hot minute and you're interested in this, it is Dicentra. It is a free-to-play game. You can find it on itch.io under visual novels. And if you need more tags, you can put in horror, because technically it is a horror game. It is very dialogue heavy with few choices. It does have 5 different endings. 3 of the quote-unquote bad endings. There's 1 good one, and once you get all 4 of those, you unlock a 5th ending. So, yeah. I do have the kettle on, so I gotta go grab that in like 10 minutes. It's got like freezing cold water in it, because it's like 25 degrees Fahrenheit outside. So it's gonna take like 10 minutes. Do you guys like banana peppers at all? Hey Grimmel, if it's horror, is the 5th ending the Scooby-Doo ending? Yes. Yes, it is. Why did somebody try to call me? Hello? 51 minutes? I don't know who that is. Listen, if I don't recognize your number, if I don't have somebody's, like, number labeled, I am not answering the phone. You can leave a voicemail. I will say, if you guys are interested in playing the game, and you can't find it on itch.io, you can hop over to my YouTube and there's a playlist. I also have a link to the game in the video description. So, there is that. This stuff is so fucking good. Let me tell you. And yes, I'm killing time right now. Because number 1, my blood sugar's low. Number 2, it's expelling my anxiety. And number 3, I'm just fucking hungry. Even though I ate this morning. This is actually really easy and cheap to make. It is literally black beans, chickpeas, banana peppers with tomatoes that are like quartered basically, and they're the little cherry tomatoes, not the big things. Though you can get the sandwich tomatoes if you prefer that flavor a bit more. I would just suggest like chopping, like dicing it up very smooth, like thinly, right? Smally. Hi, what are you doing? Why are you screaming? You don't scream. No, don't step up there. You can step. No, asshole. No, get up onto your tower. Go on. Has pickled onions. I added the pickled onions. I know, like, the recipe actually calls for regular purple or red onions because they're sweeter, but I like mine pickled. And then the vinaigrette that you make is like olive oil, Dijon mustard, a bit of maple syrup, and then juice from the banana peppers. And you just mix that up until it's like all nice, like clumped together. And you just pour it over. Oh yeah, and a thing of feta cheese. Feta cheese is what ties it together. Oh my gosh. Mm. And a touch. Here's the deal. A teaspoon, when you're making the vinaigrette, a teaspoon of apple vinegar or apple cider vinegar. That's what ties it in together beautifully. And you let it sit for an entire day before you touch it. Now, I've let it sit for a few days because, you know, take it out of the fridge, stir it up, put it back in the fridge, rinse, repeat at least twice a day, and then you dive in and it tastes fucking fantastic. Regular tomatoes have a negative flavor here. Really? At least any time apart from late summer. Feta cheese is a classic salad saver for sure. That it is. I'm really picky with tomatoes. But then again, it used to be that we grew like 10, like 5 different kinds of tomatoes here. There was tomatoes for sandwiches, we had tomatoes for spaghetti sauce, we had tomatoes for like everything and anything. And then we had a few hybrids for a while. My mom didn't really care for them. I liked them. I like them for sandwiches. Mainly for like fried egg sandwiches and ham sandwiches. They're very complimentary. The tomatoes we get are from far away, so they're picked before they're ripe. Ooh, yeah, that makes sense. Typically, we pick them like right as they're turning red, still a little green, and what we do is we wrap them in newspaper and then put them in a basket on the counter, and you just gotta check on them every day. And the ones that are like fully red, you put in the fridge, or we make a sauce out of them once they're all red. So, it's a good deal. I've also grown potatoes too. Well, the first year that we tried to grow potatoes, my crackheaded neighbor poisoned them. Like, legitimately, bought a bunch of weed killer and dumped it. Okay, that's the kettle. I'll be right back. I'm gonna leave the mic on. Because Miso is around. You might hear him. Alright, be right back. He's such a goober. He's such a goofy goober. I swear. Couldn't you kind of argue that's attempted bodily harm? What? The tomatoes we get... Wait, what do you mean attempted bodily harm? What are we talking about? Huh? Oh, the pest, like the fucking poison, the plant killer. Yeah, it is. And we took it to the cops, but they're like, well, you didn't eat it, did you? No, but we recorded them doing it. Well, we're not gonna do anything about that. Okay. Oh, but stories for another time. Alright. I got my tea, I got my bean salad. Y'all ready to get back into it? Ready to get back into story time? I'll take like another mouthful. Ah. Sorry, I'm hungry. Good to hear that my prejudice against your cops stays true. That and I live in a small town, which is not an excuse, it just means they're extra bad. Okay. I think we... Wait, go back. Alright, so recap. We're playing a cursed child named Basil who's been turned into a wolf pup. We were hurt somehow. We've made our way to this potentially haunted mansion, and now we have met this girl named Dove, and we just tried to break a window. However, some magical entity is keeping us here, and it's just thrown Dove away from the window, and we have crashed together onto the floor. Okay. When we recover again, Dove stands on shaky legs, and I can see her trying to control the haunted expression. The cat is screaming in the background. Control the haunted expression she wears. She holds her wrist with a tight grip. Black veins now fade from where the reflection had touched her. Come here. Come here. Get up here. Come here. Miso for added effect. Come here. Sit here. Yep, this was the problem the first time I recorded this series, was Miso was constantly screaming. And it is the problem again. So you're gonna sit right here. A little soft woo. She got hurt because of me. She stumbles to the table and plants herself back on top of it. I whimper and go back to scratch at the door, and more in desperation. I'm sorry. Enough. I'm tired of seeing you wallow in your despair. I reply with an indignant huff. I see Dove puff her cheeks in annoyance. I turn my head away and rest it on my paws. There's no way out. It's better for you to just accept it. A growl rumbles in my throat. Even the front door is gone, so instead of wasting time, you may as well follow me and keep yourself occupied. I wish I could cry. My ears lay flat against my skull. I've landed myself right in the mouth of a carnivorous flower with the sweetness of shelter to lure me in. I should have noticed the sharp teeth at the entrance. I take a peek at Dove. She's like a caged bird in this house. Doesn't she hate it? How can anyone possibly live like this? Her patience reached its end, and she slides off the kitchen table. I cry out when she hauls me off the ground, and I bare my fangs at her when her face appears right before mine. My glare doesn't faze her. Follow, Wolf. There is much to do. Right back to normal. We return to the labyrinth of hallways. Dove seems to know her way around them well. Now that I'm not frantically running through them, I notice a huge difference in the manor's atmosphere.
Get that guy! Destroy him! Get banned!
Sorry. How the hell did it get around my fucking mod? Jeez. Less dirt coats the floor. Ceiling lights illuminate the hallways and almost feels peaceful. Dove stops by a closet in the hallway. She grabs onto the handles of the door, and it opens up to reveal shelves and cupboards of miscellaneous tools and supplies. She climbs a stool to reach the highest shelf and retrieves a box with small buckets and brushes. Nightbot got bribed. Oh no! I tense up at the sight of the stool beginning to sway back and forth. She climbs back down without issue before leading me into a room I recognize very quickly. She makes her way to the broken side table I'd spotted when I was first exploring the rooms of the mansion, and I take the time to look around. The dining table with only 3 chairs takes up most of the room. Candles spike up from the top like stalagmites. There's so many that I think they would render a fire hazard if they were all to be lit. Hardened wax drips over the edge. I can see the end of the fountain pen, as well as scraps of paper. I'm able to see a well of ink from my position, but I assume that's what runs down the dusty tablecloth in dark splotches. A glint catches my attention. On the other side of the room, I'm unsettled by the mirrors that cover the wall from floor to ceiling. I swallow a lump that forms in my throat and do not let my eyes linger on them. I lay on the floor and watch her slather strongly scented glue on the broken leg of the table. She roughly connects the broken leg to the rest of the table and fans it with her hand so it dries faster. Come here. Why are you screaming? Come here. No, come here. Ugh. Kitty. Stay put. Just settle down. She tests its sturdiness with a light finger and scrunches her nose when it wobbles. She twists around and digs in her box and pulls out a roll of twine with a bright expression on her face. My brows furrow together. Dove twirls the string around the leg and binds it tightly. When she's done, she sets the table straight again. It still rocks unsteadily, but it stays standing. That seems to be good enough for Dove, because she picks up her box again and gives it a good nod. You can see it in the corner. Nice. Oh. I leap from my spot on the floor and spin to a loud noise. In the corner of the room, the long-haired ghost from earlier stands bent over a broken vase. I flinch when Dove lets out a startled noise and starts to stride towards it. I bark in alarm. It's dangerous! She ignores me. Siri! I grab the back of her gown with my teeth to stop her. Dove's demeanor goes from angry to taken aback. She stops and looks down at me. I shock myself with my own actions and quickly drop her skirt. Dove considers me for a moment, then switches her attention back to the ghost and marches over to him. You klutz! My jaw drops. I don't need another person to clean up after. The ghost laces its long fingers together and bows its head. When Dove gets closer to it, she stumbles and cries out. The ghost snaps its head back up to it. Hey!
Leave that alone! Psst! Orange cat! Get over here! Come here!
Okay, thank you. Jeez. The ghost snaps its head back to her. Dove checks the bottom of her foot and sees a shard embedded in the flesh. Red blooms from the small wound. The ghost makes a groaning sound and steps towards Dove. She hisses when it walks through the mess of glass and drags it with them. It's concerned for her. I observe the interaction, feeling befuddled. Everything I know about corrupted ghosts is being challenged. I pause to think about how the ghost rushed to her side earlier. The ghost tugs on Dove's sleeve like it's asking for forgiveness. She continues to badger it while digging the shard out of her foot. I study them curiously. It wasn't because they wanted to cause her harm. I trail behind Dove when she leaves to treat the small cut and when she returns to clean up the mess. The ghost is nice? What? Here's the deal. I've finished this game before, so I know what the deal is. I'm gonna give you guys a hint. She knows them, and not just, like, because she's stuck here. She was raised with them. Okay? That's all! I'm not gonna say anything else about the others, though. You'll just have to figure that out. We leave the ghost, and Dove continues down whatever to-do list she has in her mind. While she paints over the scratches on the kitchen door, trying to match the old wallpaper, she speaks to me. Have you met them all already? She doesn't speak again until we run into another ghost. It waits in the hallway for Dove. She perks up when she sees what it's holding. Oh, thank you, Babel. She takes a small bundle of red roses from it, freshly torn from its bush. I follow her to a window and see a tall, thin glass vase with withered roses in it, sitting on the sill. Dove takes out the dead flowers and replaces them. Then she pauses and looks down at something below. Her face reveals nothing as she tears her gaze away and makes her way down the hall again. Before following her, I stand on my haunches and try to peer out the window. A chill comes down me when I look down and see a small patch of graves, each marked by a small wooden cross. I break away from the unnerving sight and turn towards the hall where Dove had gone down. She stands at the end of the hall waiting for me. The bird-like ghost's name is Grell, and the doll-like ghost is Odetta. Dove introduces them officially when we run into them as we go around the manor doing mundane tasks. It's a sight I can't get used to. I can't understand how a young girl can act so normal around such monstrous things. Seeing their translucent, leathery skin or the fluids that drip from their decaying flesh is enough to send me reeling. But she does not flinch or fear. Earlier, when they had surrounded her in the kitchen, she could tell they were there, weaving their arms together to wrap her in a ghostly embrace. And she didn't care in the slightest. I start to think she's more disturbing than the ghost. To become this corrupted, they would have had to stay trapped in this plane for a long, long time. Why are they still here? Their horrific forms border on pitiful. To be this far gone, it has to be some type of hell. Dove walks amongst them like they're a family, though. No, that's not quite it. I rearrange my thoughts. Maybe. The image of the graves flashes in my mind. It's because she is theirs. Not too far from the truth. I watch her guide Grell's gangly limbs out of the hallway so they can pass through, like they're nothing but an annoying sibling. A monster, just like them. Maybe this cage she lives in is one of her own making. Dove does these errands like a routine, putting books away in the library and cleaning up candles burned to the end of their wicks. By the time she finishes winding up a large grandfather clock in the hallway, the manor feels like a completely different place. The air is less stifled by dust particles, the rooms are brighter, and it feels like a home. As we walk back to Dove's room, the sun begins its descent into the blazing orange horizon, and the evening cicadas make their shrill voices heard. Despite the manor feeling more livable, there is a feeling it gives me that I cannot shake. A void that looms like a presence. It's like letters left unfinished, or tea half empty turning cold. There's this sense of stagnation that places this manor outside of time's reach, and it leaves a noise that buzzes persistently in the air. Dove stops abruptly, and I almost trip over my paws, trying not to run into her. I take a peek from behind her and immediately let out a yelp. Oh. It's you. The very first ghost I had met stands at the end of the hallway. Dove doesn't move. I see the ghost stagger down the hall towards us, and I instinctively back away. Then Dove speaks. It's okay. Her tone is not very convincing. The ghost gets closer, and I can see the details of her leaking entrails. I make a whimpering sound and hide behind Dove, keeping myself close to the wall. She's harmless. She doesn't do anything. I throw a quick glance at Dove when her voice falters. But watch. The ghost is right beside us. Its hollow eyes look down at Dove, and she holds its unseeing gaze with cold eyes. I don't breathe. The acid smell of rot overwhelms my heightened sense of smell. The tension between Dove and the ghost creates a pressure that thins the air, making my lungs ache for oxygen. Pain seizes my chest, just when I can no longer hold my breath in. The ghost continues down the hall passively. I exhale loudly. I startle when I startle when Dove clenches her fist beside me. Her eyes follow the ghost for a couple of seconds longer, then she cuts off her stare and moves on. I quickly chase after her, not wanting to be alone with this particular ghost again. Ever again, if my luck allows it. I look back for a split second, and the ghost has disappeared. Dove's shoulders are squared as we return to her room. Since the sun is set in the opposite direction of her window, the scattering of colors from this morning is long gone. Her relationship with the hallway ghost is much different from the others. The way she spoke about her almost seemed resentful. I pad to a corner, stalling for a moment, and I see the collar from earlier on the floor. I narrow my eyes at it, pick it up with my teeth, and then throw it at the far wall. I give the collar one less glare, then curl up on the floor. Dove settles cross-legged in the middle of her book towers and reaches for a random text. I let out a big yawn, feeling heavy after the events of the day. I don't know if there's enough time in the world to process everything that's happened to me since I left home. I close my eyes and feel the tendrils of sleep curl around me. Do you think people can come back from the dead? She asked it so quietly I almost didn't hear her. I don't think she expects an answer. I cannot give her one. I think this is chapter 2. Dove's Roses. I wince at the bites. The roses are extra hungry today. After not feeding them for a while, their petals have bleached to a stark white. I watch as my blood saturates the colorless flowers, then narrow my eyes when I spot a parasitic fungi at the base of the bush. Part of the bush is already starting to wither because of it. I reach down and tear it out harshly. It sprays my gown, and I crush the fungi in my fist. I know more will sprout in its place, but seeing such a blight this close to the rosebush makes a bolt of anger rise in me. Just seeing it makes me want to destroy it. I walk to a different section of the greenhouse and throw it right next to the corpse of the fungi's latest victim. My heart clenches at the sight. Its eyes are still open. I press my fingers down the lids of the dead wolf, but it's too late. The terror on its face is already cemented in time. My fingers curl and my nails stab into my palm, making the bite sting. I return to the rosebush and continue feeding them. Thunder and lightning thrash above me. Will it lure in another pitiful soul tonight? I hear a door slam and I flinch, crushing a bulb in my hand. My ears listen intently, searching for lingering traces of his presence. When I find none, I take a deep breath and finally let myself relax. I hear the bulb, or tear the bulb from its stem, and my hands fall to my sides. The sound of the rain is so clear now as I close my eyes to let it wash out everything else. I relish in its violence against the roof of the greenhouse and tremble under the crisp cracks of thunder. Heh! Hold on. Listen, if you're gonna sneeze, sneeze now or forever hold your peace. Okay, we're good. To pass the time, now that it's mine again, I whisper something my mother taught me under my breath. And I hear a whimper come from behind me. Chapter 2. The Sun. So it's like a little thing. I don't remember how often that happens, but we get insight into Dove's mindset here and there. Death returns. I look up from my view of worn books, spines, and see Dove. She sits in a creaky wooden chair with her knees drawn up beneath her chin. Grumble, best not sneeze with a ghost around. They could haunt you for years as revenge. Ah, yes, because it's so rude to do so. She brushes pale fingers across the rough paper of a large tome bleh, let me try that again. Hold on. Take that back. Or scratch from the record. She brushes pale fingers across the rough paper of a large tome sitting open on the desk in front of her. The desk looks like it's made of dark wood, with deep grooves and jagged swirls that have been carved by something sharp. It sits tucked away in the back of a small library in the mansion. Large bookshelves loom around us like trees in a dark forest. The narrow arched window above the desk and dripping candles are the only things that light up this dark and decrepit space. I didn't know the mansion had such an intimidating space like this until we had wandered in earlier. Today's itinerary did not include any of Dove's peculiar chores. Instead, she spent the time wandering around the manor with a notebook and a stick of charcoal. I follow her as she roams aimlessly through the halls, weaving in and out of different rooms. As she continues wandering, body and mind seemingly detached, I carefully inspect every inch of the manor, desperate for a sign that proves this house can be cracked open, allowing me to finally return home. At some point, she stops wandering to sit and curl up at the foot of a decorative stone bust. When I look past her darkly smudged hands, I catch a glimpse of pages portraying the same bust over and over again. I don't think it's possible for her to draw that quickly in such a short amount of time. I wonder if she has her subject memorized by now, considering how familiar she is with it. Dove seems to be drawn to art. Her sketchbook joins her throughout all her tiny efforts to kill time in this house that she cannot leave. I begin to think that the professional paintings lining the hallway walls have some influence on this creative side of her. Perhaps she's inspired by someone close to her, or maybe she's just intensely curious. I do wonder, what happened to her family for her to end up in such a bizarre state? My thoughts trace back to my arrival at the mansion. There is someone who is yet to reappear, and I strongly hope that I'm gone long before he makes his appearance again. Dove surprises me when she walks into a new room during our walk. I cautiously follow her in, and the room reveals itself to be a library, full of grit and darkness. I can see dust particles floating silently in the small beam of light that filters into the room. It tickles my nose and makes me sneeze, throwing me forward into a roll until I land on my back with a view of a spiderweb-infested ceiling. Dove pays no attention to my fumble and carries on the back of the room until she reaches a stack of books. I shake my head to recover, ears flopping against my skull, and follow her to the rest of the way in. Cat, really? As I delve further into the room, I quietly observe the floor-to-ceiling rows of bookshelves. All of them seem to vary in width and are arranged in a pattern that seems maze-like. Books stand in tall piles and scattered around the floor like they've been thrown around carelessly. My ear gives a small twitch at the sound of one hitting the floor, and I turn my gaze to Dove. She silently slips into a chair with a book in hand. I see her focusing intensely on reading after settling into the desk, and I slump to the floor. Today's humidity has followed me like a blanket I can't push off. It's so thick it feels like I keep walking to a wall of heat. Dove doesn't seem bothered by it, but she's not the one covered in fur. I start panting loud enough to draw Dove's attention away from her book. She glances over and wrinkles her brows at me.
What are you getting into? Get out of there, now!
No, I'm not having you unplug my computer while I'm live.
Get... We're not doing this. Hold on. Get out. Out.
He has done that, by the way. Repeatedly. The other night, I swear that Cat knows which cable is the HDMI cable. Because he just goes right for it every single time he gets the chance.
He's a little asshole.
Asshole! Here's an asshole!
Take a sip of my tea.
She glances over and wrinkles her brows at me.
What's wrong with you?
I tilt my head in confusion. Her eyes rake over me inquisitively, then they brighten. She hops out of her chair. I start to stand so I can follow her, but she's already speeding out of the room.
Stay here!
My ears flatten anxiously, but I slide back down to the floor. It's too hot to move anyways, I guess. Dove soon returns carrying something in her hands, and I go on edge. Please don't have raw meat again. My body tenses when she sets a bowl in front of me, then I immediately relax again. Oh, water. I give Dove a quick side-eye. Her attention is already settling back into her book. After drinking a belly full of water, I plop down on my side, feeling much more refreshed. I blink blearily after noise disturbs my brief midday nap. Did Dove just say something? I flinch and tilt my gaze up after Dove slams the cover of her book shut. She lets out a large sigh and throws her arms straight out over the desk, with her head bowed between them. She then turns her head towards me. Have you ever seen a witch? My ears perk up. Why did she ask that?
That's a mighty suspicious question.
Dove is clearly not a witch herself, as far as I've been able to tell, at least. I can't imagine what kind of witch would want to spend their time meticulously drawing the same thing over and over and over again. And Dove feels within my reach. No witch can make me feel that way. However, the possibility for her to have any relation to a witch is increasingly tangible. Only magic can explain the things this mansion is brimming with. I can't find comfort in a place like this, but avoiding a run-in with a witch has been a blessing, considering the obvious traces of one. If only I could ask Dove for answers. The more I learn about this place, the more questions I have. It's so frustrating not being able to speak. I startle from the sound of a book dropping right in front of me. The book Dove had been leafing through now sits before me, open to a random section. I can't help but let my gaze flicker down to it. My eyes widen as I take in the contents of the page before me. Strange symbols and cursive writing fills every inch of the old parchment. I stand and draw closer to see better. Curious thing, aren't you? I look up and see Dove facing me in her chair, observing me with her head resting on her palm. I freeze under her stare. My eyes dart to the book again. You know, that has 100% mortality case with cat. You know that has 100% mortality rate with cats? I dip my nose up to look at her. Good thing I'm not a cat. Dove narrows her eyes. The corner of her lips twitch. She unravels her curled limbs and stands from her seat. From there, she drags her bare feet across the floor until she reaches the open book, kneeling down and flattening her palms over its pages. Well, I suppose there is more to the cat story than people think. I can only catch a quick glimpse of the rough circle carved into the hard leather of the cover before Dove grabs it and flips it closed. She then opens it again to the first few pages with indelicate hands. I read the words at the top of the page. Death returns. Dove traces her fingers over the first words. Satisfaction brings it back. I feel my tail wagging at the base of my spine as I look up to Dove. Would you like to learn about magic? It's not just something anyone can do. My yellow eyes meet her blue ones. Magic. Nothing has ever haunted me more. And now, like a candle has been lit at the bottom of an abyss, I can finally search for what I've always yearned. Nod. I nod. Tell me more, magic woman. Magic girl. The moment I give my answer, something about Dove changes. Like hot embers fanned in the wind, her pale eyes glow in the dim light. I feel my heart thumping in my chest. Her mouth stretches wide. I can see the points of her canines and her gums are black. Dove rarely smiles, even more so with teeth. I hold back a shudder. Hey, don't judge her. Shit happens. Shut up, Basil. This time I know for sure that my heart does not race in fear. Dove looks directly into my inhuman eyes. A malevolent grin creeps across her face. In that moment, I knew she could see her fiery eyes reflected in mine. My eyes walk across the first page, my chest blooming with excitement. A book about magic. I've never been able to read one before. They were all removed before I could get the chance. Everything you could ever want to know about magic is written in this book. It's the witch's Bible, after all. Imagine that, a witch's Bible. My mouth goes dry. For a moment, I imagine myself elsewhere. I'm back with my grandmother, sitting on the carpet by the fireplace and having my burning questions dismissed once again. Oh gods, I forgot what voice I gave the grandma.
Your birth brought you freedom, Basil. One day you will understand that.
I can only smother my disappointment with a short reply. No matter how many times I asked for an explanation, she would always deflect or ignore my prodding. So I stopped asking and started searching for my own answers. I see nothing special about myself, but I could be. I slowly look up at Dove. She stares deeply into my eyes before looking back down into the open book. Then she starts reading.
There is much to know before one uses magic, and it all begins with death.
I take a deep breath and my ears stand up attentively.
From the moment of birth, sentient bodies accumulate toxins, energy, and resources. Upon death, these bodies begin to rot and break down, returning these compounds to the environment. It's hard to believe, but in a state of decomposition, new life is abundant in the absence of an old one.
I immediately deflate.
What?
My silence must have been deafening because Dove snaps her head back at my reaction. In spite of my ability to truly be expressive with my canid features, I must have created quite the emotional response because Dove turns completely flustered. A deep scarlet burns her cheeks, its heat crawling up to her forehead. She awkwardly looks down and starts fidgeting with her fingers.
Wait,
Her brows quickly pinch together. I start to think that she might actually be embarrassed. My jaw drops slightly in disbelief.
Well,
I watch her swallow a lump in her throat.
Okay, I realize that was probably difficult to understand.
I forget to breathe when Dove looks at me once again with fingers tightly intertwined and round eyes.
You're really listening.
Dove looks at me in complete astonishment, and I'm at complete loss in how to react. Dove runs a hand through her messy hair and recollects herself. She returns to the book in front of her, starting from the beginning again.
There's a certain kind of energy that is created in this process of decay. That energy is magic itself, existing in the plane between life and death. This place is also known as the ether. No living being can ever see it. It's an inevitable occurrence. Death is guaranteed in the circle of life. It's cruel but necessary, because when death bloom, new life permits.
Welcome back, Craig. Dove tilts her head and flips through the pages of the book.
Of course, I'm only summarizing the complexities. It's not as simple in practice, because magic is not something that can be contained by any laws we've observed in nature. At least, the ones we know. In fact, magic is no different than a species you're probably familiar with. Mushrooms.
I cock my head in confusion and look at Dove, expecting her to elaborate on her explanation. She leans over the witch's Bible, balancing on one arm and holding up her pointer finger.
Let me explain. Mushrooms are the only thing in nature that do not follow a logical system. Normally, creatures with bright colors always serve as a warning to stay away. Through evolution, both flora and fauna have developed characteristics that allow them to survive long enough to pass down that trait. But with mushrooms, none of that applies. Bright, dull, big, clustered. You can't tell if a mushroom will kill you based on looks alone. You can't tell if a mushroom will kill you based on looks alone. The only way to find out is to eat it.
I gulp. Dove makes mushrooms sound like old gods.
But back to the topic at hand.
Dove flips to a new page, and I pause at the sight of scratchy doodles that make the words on the page illegible. Definitely Dove's handiwork.
Magic can be unpredictable and unstable. By this logic, areas with little death hold little magic. Likewise, places with an abundance of death hold an abundance of magic. Places like cemeteries.
I nod in understanding as Dove continues. Remember, cemeteries.
It's the reason ghosts love to linger around there so much.
Dove crosses her legs and rests her head in her palm.
She hasn't been turning the pages of the book, yet she explains everything in perfect detail.
I'm gonna be drawing while lurking.
Yeah! Just how many times has she read this book? I've been told that witches become empowered by corpses buried deep beneath their feet, and with that power comes tragic silence. Dove's expression becomes solemn, but in the silence there's also an earnest level of respect from those who have passed away. She pauses for a moment, then starts turning the pages again. When she finds the page she wants, the corners of her lips perk up. Or a satisfactory feast. My ears twitch. However, there are two expectations to this.
Explanations. Ugh.
In spaces void of death, magic is completely unusable. Most witches usually avoid them like the plague. When the shimmer of magic runs through your veins as naturally as breathing, being there feels like gravity is amplified tenfold. Maybe the closest thing to feeling human for a witch. On the contrary, a space plagued with too much death becomes dangerous for everything in it. Without caution, the magic can overflow and seep through the cracks between planes, corrupting everything it touches. And this is where the witches come in. Dove turns to a new page. The spread before me makes the fur along my spine stand up. I am greeted with an illustration of demons holding what appear to be babies. Of course. Are they human? Or perhaps they're... Something in my brain clicks. I know this part. The concept of witchlings receiving the devil's blessing at birth to become full-fledged witches. My grandmother knows how to obtain this blessing, but refused to tell me no matter how much I asked. It's a miracle I even know this much from what little she told me. Dev pauses to stare at the illustration. I nod my nose in her direction as encouragement to continue. Every witch begins with the devil's blessing. Once they receive the blessing, they're bound to hell. Dove gets lost in thought for a moment and combs her fingers through her hair. Did you know that witches have 3 commandments? I blink. Of course, it's 3. Why wouldn't it be? 1. No god before the devils. 2. Thou shalt honor the devil's gift. And 3. Magic shall never be used without the devil's permission. Dove frowns as she states the last commandment. She didn't mention how witches receive the blessing. I whine in disappointment. Dove seems to completely misunderstand my reaction. You scared? Don't worry, demons won't be making deals with a little puppy like you. I snort in annoyance. The relationship between demons and witches is symbiotic. Because witches can access the ether, they can utilize magic. The more magic they use, the more power is imbued in hell. The demons who reside in hell can extract the power and use it to create the chaos they love so much. I let an involuntary shiver. I can't help the anxiety that rises from the knowledge of using magic to provide enrichment for beings that love nothing more than trouble. However, witches don't just exist for demons to live vicariously through them. They have the responsibility of keeping magic levels in balance. That's so boring to talk about, though. The most important thing in this book are these. Deb shows me a page filled with magic circles. Using magic is a little different from fairy tales. You can't just conjure something from nothing with a swish of your hand. Not without a couple of steps, at least. Magic is, it's far more similar to... Dove taps her index finger on her chin. Oh, yeah, it's like baking. I feel my brows pinch in confusion. Magic is like making cakes? Oh, well, you see, baking requires perfect measurements. Dove flips through the witch's Bible until she lands on her desired page. She then lifts the book and presents it to me. Strange symbols greet my eyes. Each one of these symbols represents elements. These are your ingredients. She turns to a new page filled with various illustrations of circles. In order to use magic, you need to gather the right elements and place them within a circle that looks just like this one. Every space within the circle is like a number. This is why magic is like baking. The ingredients and measurements must be exact. A single miscalculation could be the difference between enhancing a rose and killing it. One more thing. For every spell in this book, there's a secret ingredient. Dove slides a page between her middle and ring finger until the page meets the webbed skin of her hand. Without even flinching, she pulls her hand across the paper. I immediately cringe away, like I could feel the stinging sensation of paper slicing into her sensitive skin firsthand. Dove holds up her hand and pinches the flesh around the paper cut, pushing out beads of scarlet. She sets the witch's Bible flat on the floor again, hovers her hand over the circles of over the drawings of circles. Over the circles of drawings. More blood runs from the cut and forms a crimson droplet that hangs from the tip of her finger. It feels like minutes go by before the droplet finally falls from her hand, staining the paper below. The sound of blood dripping onto the page echoes in my ears like a ticking clock. I focus on the way the blood spatters on impact right in the middle of the circle, then runs down the curve of the paper until it fully soaks into the parchment. If you've made your spell correctly, all you need is a little witch blood to make it transform before your very eyes into art. Dove curls her hand into a fist. Witchlings may not have demon's blessing, but we're surely not human. We come from fire and brimstone, after all. Magic belongs in our veins. Just because we are not connected to the ether doesn't mean it isn't there, just waiting for our call. Dove leans over the bloodied drawings with hunger in her eyes. Her hail falls like a curtain of bramble around the witch Bible. The sight makes me think of putrid veins that spread from an infection. One day, we won't need anyone's blessing to take what is ours. I tense up. She notices my stiffness and gives me a small smile. Are you intimidated by magic now? Don't worry, there's no need to go through something as advanced as creating your own spells. That's what the Witch's Bible is for. It contains all the spells you could ever need. Dove trails off. It looks like she has more to say, but she hesitates to express her thoughts. I rest my head on my paws as the silence stretches. Dove expression sours before speaking again. I want more, though. My head lifts. These spells aren't enough for me. She narrows her eyes at the witch's Bible and smooths the parchment with her hand before crumbling it into her fist. I blink in surprise. Witches are brave enough to walk the earth as hosts for parasitic demons in hell, and yet Dove looks down at her open palms, her gaze lingering on her wound, blood now clotted. She starts raising her voice, and I flinch in response. And that's where we're going to take a break. For 5 minutes. Alright. Let me get some music going for you guys so you don't have to keep listening to this. I hope my audio has been okay this entire time, because I just noticed something. Okay, anywho, we'll be back.
Jeez. Okay. Whew. Sorry. I had to take an extra bit to stretch. Everything's like... a blanket. Because it's very, very chilly outside. It is 25 degrees Fahrenheit. That's kind of permeating through the house even with everything on. So I've got like my fluffy pants on. I got my cozy socks. My big sweater. Got like 2 different shirts on. Ooh. I'm probably gonna make like some ginger tea next break we get. That's really good for blood flow and everything. Oh, tea. Because I don't have coffee. Well, hopefully you guys have been enjoying the game so far. Well, really the novel, I guess. The novel. Alright. Yes, I would like to rewrite the save. Oh, and before we hop back in, I need to make sure the audio is back on. That would be an excellent idea, wouldn't it? Right, chat? Right, okay. Take another sip. Back into it with Dove, shall we? She starts raising her voice, and I flinch in response. And yet they bind themselves to so many rules. They can use magic. They're the only ones that can use magic. All the possibilities in the palm of their hands. But what's this? Dove throws the book open, showing the words carved on the inside of the back cover. Do not use magic on people. Do not waste magic with minuscule pursuits. Always keep magic levels balanced. Never take too much. Her face contorts in frustration with every line that she reads. They smother themselves. They make themselves so small. They do not pursue progress. There's only tradition this and tradition that. It drives me mad. Dove suddenly grabs the witch's Bible and violently throws it. I jump out of the way as it bashes into a wall. A flurry of papers erupts when it slams onto the desk beneath it. Dove stands, huffing out short breaths and clenching her fists as pages flutter down like her little snow... or blah, blah, as oh. Vu parler français dans l'anglais. My brain short-circuited. Serious face, come on. Dove stands, huffing out as short breaths and clutching her fists as pages flutter down around her like snowfall. The sight haunts me. It's like seeing a glimpse of a dove free from the walls that contain her here. Everything you want to know about magic is written in the Bible. But I want more. As I watch the papers flutter to the ground, I notice something written in all of them. Alchemical compositions sketched with impatient scrawl litter every page I see. The symbols and circles look like nothing what I have seen in the witch's Bible. Dove mutters something to herself. I'm not afraid like they are. The temperature around me drops. I almost expect my breath to cloud my face when I exhale. Just what is Dove trying to create? Dove drifts back to the desk, but she doesn't sit back down. She just stands there instead, completely lost in thought. I look around the room, feeling awkward in the silence. Eager to not sit in it for a second longer, I stand and get ready to wander off. I turn back and give Dove one last glance before trotting away. I wander around the library, observing the piles of dusty books on the floor and the worn spines that crowd the shelves. One book in particular captures my attention. I take nimble steps closer to inspect a strange object hugging a book on a bottom shelf. It resembles a spider with long and bony appendages that stretch around the covers. Something about it fills me with unease. Maybe don't touch it then, Basil! I start to back away when out of nowhere, I'm thrown onto the floor and air is knocked out of my lungs. A little yelp, quickly realizing that was a mistake. Something wraps tightly around me, constricting my movement and making it difficult to breathe. The more I struggle, the tighter the grip becomes. My eyes begin to sting as I catch a single glance of the strange book I saw earlier. The cover is now bare. A spider-like object that had wrapped around its spine is now crushing me with its limbs. Footsteps rapidly reach my ears and I see Dove appearing around the corner of a bookshelf. I could see the look of surprise etched on her face. A strange reaction to seeing me get crushed to death, you know.
I thought he got rid of that.
She finally shows panic when I let out a pained bark. Dove rushes over and drops to her knees. I can feel her bony hands trying to dig under the spider's legs, but it digs into my flesh in the process. She pulls her hand back and bites her lip. I then feel her grabbing me again, hauling me into the air.
Just hold on, I can fix this.
Her confidence is betrayed by her wavering voice. Oh, is this it for me? It's a miracle I even made it this far. Nice. My breathing quickens. No, I don't want to die like this. I thrash my body in Dove's arms, fighting back against the constricting creature. Oof. I can feel my vision turning fuzzy as Dove bursts into a room I've never been in before. She slips on something that sounds like paper, sending us both tumbling onto the floor. I let out a weak cry while Dove lands hard on her hands and knees. The spider continues to tighten its grip. Dove wastes no time running over to a shelf to rifle through bottles and drawers for something. When she finally finds what she's looking for, she quickly reads a tag attached to it and hurries back to me. I see her uncork a bottle of swirling purple liquid before pouring its contents onto me. I feel a searing heat drip onto my skin as the spider screeches. Howl in agony when some of the liquid drips onto me, and Dove releases a gasp.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get it on you.
I whimper to cope with the pain. The only relief I can feel is the loss of suffocating pressure around me. Dove moves away to retrieve a cloth and clumsily dabs at the stray purple fluids that had gotten onto my fur, making them sting even more. When she leaves my sight again, I look to my side and see the spider-looking object curled into itself and unmoving. Dove stops for a moment, stumbling in the process, and gives it her attention as well. I'm not sure how I expected her to feel over the aggressive little creature that almost killed me, but the face she makes catches me off guard. She looks like she's in mourning. Dove nudges the spider with her foot. I hold my breath in fear that it'll spring back to life and make a second attempt to take my life. What a shame. My head perks up. That was my first successful spell. My blood runs cold. What does she mean?
You've seen quite a few of my spells by now.
Dove looks down at her hands and starts counting fingers. The rosebush, viper cage, book spine. The sound of something tapping against glass makes my head snap around. Up on a shelf I spot what seems to be the source of the noise. Crimson-cloaked moths thrash around in a jar. Dove also looks up at them.
Ah, those are mine as well. Cute, aren't they? I gave them the raw meat you didn't want to eat. Probably hungry again.
She gives me a small smile and nausea ripples through me. These things are a success to her? She created these horrific creatures? That shouldn't even be possible. Dove can't use magic. Can she? No, I doubt it. I feel my mind racing. If she was not the one who created them, then who did? I hear Dove fuss around the room once again, and I take in my surroundings. It appears to be some kind of study or lab. Shelves and cabinets line the walls filled with jars and bottles. The air is thick with the strong smell of herbs, fresh and stale all at once. It's almost overwhelming. When I look to the very back of the dark room, I let out a yelp. Light pours in from a small window and disturbing outlines. Light pours in from a small window and disturbingly outlines an arrangement of skulls around a dark frame. It looks like a mirror, but
The surface of the glass is dull and doesn't reflect anything very well. The eye sockets of the animal skulls are shrouded in shadow, but they give me the creeping sensation of being observed. A familiar feeling I brush off with a full-body shake. It's a witch's shrine. Dove's voice frightens me out of my thoughts. She kneels beside me, looking conflicted. In her hands is a small jar. With a twist of her wrist, she unscrews the lid, revealing a pale green paste inside. This will help your burns. I cower away from her touch as she tries to reach for me. I crash into something hard as I hide underneath the nearest table. Dove retracts her hand and presses it into her lap. I stare at her with wide eyes and crouch close to the ground, sheltered by the shadows. She opens her mouth to say something, but her words get stuck in her throat when her eyes catch on something behind me. She squints briefly before widening her eyes with recognition. She shoots forward. I yelp and scatter away to avoid her. While my body is pressed against a wall, I look to see if Dove has followed me. I get her in my sight, but her focus isn't on me at all. In fact, the mysterious thing under the table has her completely distracted. It scrapes against the floor as she drags it out. A box. It's beautiful. Rose and thorn motifs decorate the smooth, dark wood. Dove regards it open-mouthed, and snaps the chest open so abruptly that it tips back slightly. Cat's trying to break in. She slowly pulls something out of the box. I take a small step closer to see it more clearly. In her hand is a small, bloody pouch. I read a single word on a label attached to it. Babble. I feel a chill crawl up my spine. What is that? I swallow heavily as I begin to imagine the worst. It couldn't be. I pad up to the box and shrink back when I see the contents that lay in its red velvet lining. Bile rises in my throat at the sight of human remains. My eyes dart between the objects in the box. A clutch of dark hair tied together with a ribbon. A small bone, and another bloody pouch, all with paper tags attached to them. I don't need to read the rest of the labels to know what's written on them. Names. The names of all the ghosts that haunt this home. Except for one. Dove still holds Babble's pouch in her hands. A blank expression paints her face, but with closer inspection, I can see a faint tremble in her hands. She quickly tosses the pouch back into the chest and slams it to close. She slides it back under the table, then stands up and makes her way out of the study. I stand there, frozen, briefly forgetting how to move my feet. Eventually, I trail out behind her. Reluctantly so, because I don't know what else there is to do. When I step out into the hall, Dove is nowhere to be seen. I look around, searching for a sign of where she might have gone. Everywhere I look offers no hints. I whine, then start navigating through the confusing hallways as best as I can from memory. Eventually, I find Dove's bedroom. Dove is not here. I find myself feeling relieved and troubled. I walk over to the spot I slept the night before, drop down, and listen to the noises of the house until I fall asleep. It's dark when I wake up again. I look around. I do not see nor hear a sign of Dove. A knot in my stomach forces me to get up. Being unaware of Dove's whereabouts fills me with anxiety. Being near her makes me feel like the horrors are with me instead of against me. I return to the labyrinth of hallways and walk around, keeping all my senses alert. I start to reconsider my decision to walk around the mansion at night again, especially alone. Evening seems to be time she likes to walk around. As if I had spoken her into existence, a wet drag comes from behind me. I freeze in my tracks. There's a familiar tapping nearby. I see the hidden door leading up to the roof next to me. I don't bother looking behind me and head straight for the door. I go straight up the stairs and to the roof. Unlike the last time I was here, a clear night sky spans high above me. Stars dot the dark, and for a moment I forget about all the things I was scared of. Every time I see the night sky, I feel so small under its grandeur. When Dove spoke about magic earlier, I was frightened by how much it revolved around death. Before learning about it, I'd always thought magic felt like, well, this. Like it was art that could capture the spark of small joys. I would rebelliously steal more time to admire the stars and breathe in deeply, slowly. For even just a second, I want to remember how to sit still and get lost in everything I'm feeling. I want to gulp down the humid summer air, feel the gentle night breeze brush against my fur, smell the sap from the trees, listen to the crickets in my ears, and memorize the placement of every star I can see. Every blissful and uncomfortable sensation, I let it all sink into me. They all remind me that I'm still alive, and I hold on to that so tightly, because I'm so afraid of what I'll become if I can no longer see goodness when it's in front of me. The longer I stare at the sky, however, I squint. The stars seem so close. Something pulls me back to reality. I hear a voice. I turn my head and see a faint light. It's coming from the greenhouse. Foul little things, don't you think, Babel? These ugly things keep consuming everything like a vengeful spirit. I'll never see what's so interesting about something so boring like weeds. Flowers are pretty, but their beauty is so fleeting. I try to make these ones last longer, but they end up dying when they're cut from their bush. I enter the greenhouse quietly. Dove stands by the giant rose bush with a lantern at her feet. Meanwhile, Babel busies itself nearby with a watering can. Is this where she's been all day? Dove hasn't noticed me yet. She takes a peek at Babel and makes a downcast face before looking back at her roses. Babel, do you remember when you let me plant seeds to grow tomatoes? Dove prods at a rose bulb and pulls her hand back before it can sink its teeth into her flesh. No matter what I did or how much you helped me, I couldn't even get it to bud. Babel gives no response. It quietly sets its watering can down and starts meticulously weeding the flower beds. You still put in so much effort to take care of these silly plants. I don't understand why. I spent so many hours in here just watching you, yet I can't even name anything. If I told you to let everything die, would you finally rest? Do you even know how to do anything else anymore? Dove moves to face Babel. You should have just left his stupid mushrooms alone. Then you wouldn't be stuck in this cursed state. Babel straightens up, then holds out a bundle of flowers in front of Dove. Then I have a chance to look. I notice that there's actually a variety of flowers in this greenhouse. Roses, daffodils, lilacs. Something that looks like lilacs, but with different shaped petals. It definitely isn't a lilac, but its blooms do sprout in an interesting way. Perhaps I can find out what it is later. My grandmother didn't like teaching me about magic, but she was always willing to entertain my botanical curiosities. The ones Babel offers Dove are bleeding hearts, scientifically known as Dicentra spectabilis. I've always been fascinated by them because of the unique shape. Their arching stems and their hanging blooms that are shaped just like hearts. My grandmother explained one of the things they symbolized. Unconditional love. Their meaning filled me with warmth when I heard it for the first time. I immediately wanted to know more about it, so I did my own research on it and read through one of her books on the language of flowers. I learned bleeding hearts also represented something else. Heartbreak. Dove stands so still that I think she somehow turned into a statue. On the surface, Dove is calm and collected, but behind her gentle visage lives a merciless beast harboring in the trenches of her emotions.
Duff shoots her hand out to smack the flowers out of Babel's tendril grip, letting them fall to her feet. Babel bends down and delicately picks up each stem again. Dove's cheeks grow splotchy with red, and she holds her dress in tight fists. Can't you just be here with me? I hear her voice crack. Dove pinches her eyes closed. Or have you already been gone for a long time? I can't watch this any longer. The dead are never meant to stay longer than they're supposed to, despite some of their efforts in doing so. And despite the efforts of those that are not ready for them to depart, people never realize until they've lost someone forever. But the dead will immortalize themselves in your thoughts, whether you want them to go or not. The emptiness they leave behind tends to grow into a mold you can never ignore. Body, soul, those can be gone, but memories? Those cannot be killed. I twist around and take off, knowing what needs to be done. I hear Dove make a small noise behind me. My retreat must have tipped her off to my presence. No, don't! Her distressed scream almost makes me stop dead in my tracks. But I carry onward. I race into the study and skid to a halt in front of the box under the table. I hear the thud of footsteps running after me. Using my paws, I claw and shove at the chest until it falls over and the lid pops open, spilling the contents out. I quickly scan through the pieces of paper attached to the remains. When I spot Babel's pouch, I grab it with my mouth and turn to sprint for the door. Dove stands there out of breath, clutching onto the doorframe. She glares at me and walks forward. Bad dog, drop it! I clench my jaw tighter and stand my ground. You have to let them be free! I try to plead to her with my eyes. Dove takes a step forward and I take a step back. She holds her hand out towards me. Give it back! I need it. Save. Yes. Also, thank you for the stretch there. I need it. I need it. Alright. I'm gonna make a risk. I give up the pouch. I stare at Dove's hand, but something behind her catches my eye instantly. Dove twists her head around. We both see Babel lumbering through the hall, holding an arrangement of flowers. She starts chasing after the ghost, and I'm hot on her heels behind her. The two of us step out into the hallway and trail after Babel. Babel takes its time moving around the manor. It stops at every empty vase on a table and places a fresh flower in each one, slipping into rooms and adding pops of color to spaces devoid of it. Dove and I observe it without saying a word. With every flowery addition, Babel brings brightness to even the darkest of corners. When it finishes its rounds, it returns to the rooftop. Babel kneels before a cluster of violets and toggles a leaf side to side until it's pulled free from the soil. It then stands up and moves to a bench, wrapping one of its tendrils around a small knife in the process. It takes a small cut on the stem, then gently places it in a jar of water. I look up at Dove, who watches with lowered brows and narrowed eyes. I lift a paw and brush it against her skirt. She looks down at me from the corner of her eyes. I take a deep breath. I face her and tip my nose up with Babel's belongings still in my mouth. Dove lowers her hand and I drop the pouch into it. I then look back up at her. Your friend works so hard to bring you peace. Don't you want to show it, your appreciation? Dove's breath hitches and her lip trembles. She stands up straight, dragging her feet towards a lantern she had placed near the rose bush. I follow Dove from behind. She slowly kneels before the fluttering flame encased in the glass. She calmly opens the lantern door and silently watches the flame with Babel's pouch in her lap. I can sense her mind racing behind her eyes,
desperately trying to dig her nails into any excuse that'll delay her next move. Her throat bobs, then she turns her head to look back at Babel. It hovers around jars of other propagating plants, none the wiser to what she's about to do. Dove faces the lantern again and squeezes her eyes shut. When she opens them again, her face is collected. She carefully brings the pouch to the fire and holds the edge in it until it catches. The brightness of the flame reflects in her pale eyes. She places the burning pouch on the tiled floor, and we both watch the silk bag organically burn away, revealing the teeth inside. They burn slowly, so slowly that I wonder if they'll even be able to burn. Dove does not turn away to look back at Babel even once. Then finally, all that's left are ashes and tiny shards. My eyes widen as Dove scoops up the remains in her hands. She shows no sign of pain as the cinders singe her palms. She transfers it all to one hand, then takes a deep and shaky breath before crumbling the remains. Out of nowhere, I hear the faint sound of wind chimes. I look around wondering where the sound had come from and find nothing. Perhaps I had just imagined it. Dove pours the ashes onto the floor. I look behind her. Babel is gone. Heh. I think that's what, 1 of 5? The next few days after Babel's disappearance pass by uneventfully. By the third day, everything changes. I lay near Dove's feet in the library. I still have yet to find something that'll help me leave this place. Maybe the only way to escape is to become a ghost myself, but I have a feeling my freedom won't be guaranteed that way either. Dove sits at her desk, staring at notes in a daze. Her pencil has been completely still for a while now. Uh-oh. My heart stops. Dove's head snaps up. That sounded exactly like the front door from the day I came here. There's a door. There's a way out. And my arm is fully healed. I bolt up and shudder with anticipation. My tail wags excitedly. I grab Dove's skirt with my teeth, wanting to waste no time getting to the door. She crouches down and grabs my snout in her hand. You have to hide! I pull back and look at her, confused. Why would I hide? This might be my only chance to go home. But when I see the panic in Dove's eyes, I start to wonder why the door has returned. My gaze slowly shifts to the entrance of the library. I listen and hide. The floorboards outside the library creak. Heavy footsteps echo, getting louder and louder. I stare at the door, paralyzed. What are you doing? Move! Dove shoves me with her hands and I spring into action. Where should I hide? The footsteps stop right outside the door. Bookshelf. Bookshelf. I hurry behind a bookshelf and lower myself to the floor as flat as I can. The door creaks open and someone walks in. I try to control my rapid breathing out of fear that it will betray my concealed position. I peek through the gaps, and what I see haunts me. A tall gentleman enters the library, still in his outerwear with a cane tucked under his arms. I watch as he approaches Dove. I see her casually step in front of the notes she has scattered on the desk. The man takes off his hat and holds it against his hip. I feel like my heart jumps out of my chest when I see his eyes. Dove resembles him a lot. They both have pale skin, and inky black hair that spikes out like a lion's mane. What sets them apart, though, are their eyes. Dove's eyes are the blue of glaciers, while his... It's said that animals that are brightly colored because of their toxicity are mostly active at night,
It seems fitting for this man because his eyes are the scarlet of a poisonous frog. A warning outlined by the dark markings that cover the hollow of his eyes. I've seen markings like that before. Every witch has them. When he speaks, I almost yelp in surprise. Where's Hyptia? My nails curl. His voice. It was the one I had heard when I had first arrived here. But more importantly, Hyptia? Who's that? Is there still someone I have yet to meet in this house of curiosities? It unsettles me to think so. Around, I'm sure. My brows draw together. No, hello? The man nods and turns to leave just as quickly as he came. But then he stops for a brief moment. He reaches into his coat and produces a small lantern with a glowing green flame. Here is everything that was on your list. He places the lantern on Dove's desk with a light tap. His eyes briefly catch on Dove's notes, and I see her go stiff. You've been busy. It's nothing. Of course it is. The man steps away and makes his way to the door again. You should know better by now. He gives Dove one last glance. Why don't you find something better to do instead of wasting your time? Dove's eyes tweak, but her overall expression remains blank. I stare in disbelief as he leaves without another word. Once he's gone, Dove stands rooted to her spot. Her face is blank and her eyes are unfocused. My ears twitch and follow the new noise in the house. Footsteps fade to another section of the mansion. I can hear the sound of a door clicking to a close. Dove finally moves again and picks up the handle of the lantern. She looks down at me right as I meekly come out from my hiding spot. Let's go. Quietly. When we get to the kitchen, Dove places a small lantern on the table. Then she opens the glass and blows out the flame. Smoke begins to fill the room. It clouds the kitchen so quickly that I don't even have time to hold my breath. I expect a dry burn in my lungs, but instead, the smell of pitcher tickles my nose. When the smoke clears, boxes, bags, and crates have appeared out of nowhere, all over the table and floor. My eyes widen in awe and my tail starts wagging excitedly. I start sniffing at boxes and peeking into bags while Dove starts digging through the crates. Sorry. My nose. I sit and watch as she pulls out shiny new incandescent bulbs and sets them down on the kitchen table. She opens up everything before she starts sorting them. Out of one box, she pulls out a new dress and polished shoes. Both pretty and frilly, but Dove gives them a sour look and shoves them back in their boxes before moving on to the next thing. I remember the witch had mentioned getting everything on a list, to which I assume was prepared by Dove. Is the new fashion not in her style, or were they things she didn't ask for? I haven't seen Dove wear anything beside her sleepwear. She probably doesn't see the point in getting dressed, considering all her activities are of the enclosed variety. In another box, she lights up at the sight of new books. She fans the pages and takes a deep breath. Her face lights up with glee as she basks in the new book smell. Gotta love that new book smell. Oh, don't you just love it when you get some new books? She gathers all the food and sorts them into separate piles. One pile is for the cold cellar and the other is for the pantry. She pulls something out of a paper bag and her mouth stretches into a big smile. She then looks down at me as I tilt my head in question. I'll treat you to something tasty today. Dove flashes a quick glance at the hallway, then crouches down. Follow me and be light on your paws. Dove starts down the hallway, balancing on the balls of her feet with practiced ease. I feel uneasy about this new need to sneak around the house. I've been here long enough to the point where I'm almost used to the monsters that live here. But now I'm learning that these monsters have something to be wary of. Sorry, bit of tea. When we enter the greenhouse, Dove stops at the... There's a fucking train. There be a train! We're taking a small break to have tea. You know, technically this game is only 4 hours long. Or about 3 hours into it. Doesn't mean that it ends at 4 hours. It just has like 4 hours of content. But since I'm reading through all of it rather than like speed reading or anything, you know, quietly to myself. Yeah. We're gonna be here. I don't intend to finish it today. Maybe next weekend we can do that.
Yeah!
We've got what? 2.5 hours left, maybe? I'm not sure. Alright. When we enter the greenhouse, Dove stops at the entrance. I look back at her in confusion. Her eyes stare blankly. I can see her pupils move around the room in search of something. Her behavior sets me on edge. I turn around to see if there's someone, or something, here in the greenhouse beside us. There's no one. Nothing. I glance back at Dove. A line forms between her brows before she continues making her way in. She passes by me and silently heads for the violets. Once they're right in front of her, she bends down, reaching for them. I bark in surprise when she starts ripping them all out. This is probably the last time I'll get to eat this. We should appreciate it. We should appreciate Babel's hard work, right? My ears go flat. I stare at the uprooted flowers that had obviously been raised with so much care. Everything here is most likely going to rot away. Dove doesn't seem very interested in plants. I can't really picture her spending every day here pulling out weeds, knowing how much water every plant needs, or even knowing what fertilizer is. I think she would much rather draw the same statue 1,000 times. It feels like a shame. Once Dove has picked out all the violets, leaving the soil bare, she stands and gets ready to head back. I try to memorize the sight of the vibrant garden as much as I can before I'm forced to catch up to Dove. Dove pauses awkwardly again when we enter the hallway. I freeze up. This time, I really think there's something dangerous up ahead. I cautiously peer around Dove's legs. Once again, there's nothing. I snap my head up at Dove. Is she messing with me? Dove continues moving like nothing happened, and I slowly trail behind her. As we continue walking, we pass by a small window. I notice a familiar glass holding a small bundle of roses. Its petals already dried up and flaking. My mouth goes dry. We arrive back in the kitchen. Dove starts gathering ingredients and ripping the violet petals from their stems. Meanwhile, a pot of water heating over a fire in the hearth starts to bubble. When steam starts to rise from the pot, Dove places the petals in a stoneware pot and adds the boiling water. She places the cover over the pot to let the petals steep, then starts to organize and put away all the new supplies. I watch curiously from the floor. I've never eaten flowers before. Dove completes every step with practiced precision. By the time she's finished cleaning up, the violets are ready to be infused with other ingredients. Dove keeps herself occupied by combining everything. Eventually she pours the finished product into glass jars. Dove seals 4 jars of violet jelly to be stored away, leaving 1 jar that's only partially filled. I lick my lips and admire the pretty color the violets had made. She grabs a spoon and pops it in the jar, taking it with her as she makes her way to a small package wrapped in twine and paper sitting near the window. We're done here now. Dove sets the jar of violet jelly down on the window seat and unravels the package she had brought. A new quilt unfolds in her hands. She spreads it out on the floor near my water bowl. She settles into the window seat, and I wait for a moment before I step onto the blanket. I take a second to savor the softness under my paws before laying down comfortably. Dove scoops up some of the violet jelly and holds a spoon in front of my face. Here, I'll give you the first bite. I give the jelly a sniff, then test it with a small lick. It has such a sweet and floral taste.
I lick up the rest greedily. Dove takes the spoon back and stares at the jar of purple jelly. Don't tell me you're gonna use the same spoon that you gave me! I know by all means we're like human transformed and all that, but come on! Germs, contamination, bacteria. Nah. Dove, why you gotta be like this? As the sky fades to an all-consuming darkness, I gaze at the sheet of stars one last time before I curl into a ball. I can hear the soft crackles coming from the candle that Dove lit earlier. The sound soothes me, and soon enough, my eyelids start to feel heavy. I rest my head on my paws and curl my tail around me. I hear Dove's spoon scrape into the glass jar. And then the sound of someone sniffling. Dove's son. I don't know if this is like the next chapter or if this is like one of the interludes. Morning air is cool against my face. My eyes close in appreciation. No, I won't stick around as the day grows heavy with the midsummer heat. I shift awkwardly in the window seat as I watch the sky grow brighter. The wolf sleeps so soundly on the small blanket I had placed down for him. He'd probably puff up if he knew he was sleeping with his belly exposed to me so comfortably. I feel my lips stretch into a small smile, and a frown. It was so quiet that I couldn't sleep. When it's quiet, I can hear every little sound in the house. That makes it easy for me to notice that something is missing. There's one less ghost to go bump in the night. My ears are waiting for the sounds that aren't there. My eyes are waiting for the shapes that aren't there. Why is it that the ghost of a ghost has so much more presence? Something breaks me from my thoughts. Hear a slight cooing sound right next to me. I look down to see a small brown bird sitting on the sill of my open window. My mouth parts. A mourning dove. It softly calls to me and hops on weightless feet. I lean forward and slowly reach my fingers out towards it, wondering if its feathers are as soft as they look. It flies away before I can touch it. I let out a soft gasp and the corners of my mouth fall once again. Pull my hand back and lean my head back against the wall. I let out a sigh as I watch the dove disappear into the sky. The sun has started to rise over the trees and its light hits the painted colors on my window. Like everything about this place, I have it memorized. The same clouds, the same shades of blue and pink, the same rays of light that pierce through the leaves, the same shadows. A foolish part of me keeps thinking the day will come where I'll finally get to see a sky I've never seen before. Wood creaks. Only one person makes that sound. His day has begun. I search for a glimpse of the morning dove again. Instead of wings that fly around freely, all I see is the sky as it begins to bleed red. The brightness of the sun is smothered as the false moon devours it and takes its place like a celestial doppelganger. Out of the corner of my eye, the rainbow light that dapples my room has vanished. I close my eyes and rummage through the depths of my thoughts for somewhere to hide. Will today be a good day? Or a bad day? I hear the wolf snore and look down at him. I said I would help distract you, but it's been you who's been distracting me. Alright, chapter 3. The moon. What time is it? About, deduct 5. We've got 8 minutes till break. Okay. Then you get up and stretch and move again. Make that ginger tea, and then we'll be on the last stretch of the stream. The sun is gone. I open my eyes, blinking in confusion. I've completely forgotten what had woken me up in the first place. I distinctly remember falling asleep to glittering stars and darkness. So I'm surprised to see the moon still so high in the sky. And red. So much red. Scarlet bleeds to every corner of the sky. The light from its atmosphere bounces off the floorboards of Dove's room, casting everything in an ominous glow. I thought we had gone to bed late. Must have not slept that long. I stare at the full moon outside. My heart is pumping like it knows something my brain doesn't. It must be an itch from the lack of sleep. But I don't feel tired. The moon's face appears strange to me. Something in its light unnerves me, as if it's watching diligently for my reaction. Like it can't wait for me to unravel the secret it harbors. I feel my fur grow stiff. I swallow. It's morning. But why on earth was the... I jump 6 feet into the air when someone bangs on the door to Dove's bedroom. Out of instinct, I rush under the desk beside Dove's Out of instinct, I rush under the desk beside Dove's bed. I remember it clearly now. It was that exact banging noise that pulled me from my sleep in the first place. Dove suddenly appears before me and clamps a hand around my muzzle. I start to squeal, but she throws a finger in front of her mouth to silence me. The banging continues. I hear someone rattle the locked doorknob. Dove, open the door! Dove glances in the direction of the man calling for her. Just a moment, Father. Dove's neutral answer is a stark contrast to my trembling form. Her gaze swings back to me, and before I know it, I'm being hauled off my feet. My immediate reaction is to thrash in Dove's arm. Is she about to offer me up to the witch? I try to whimper through the iron grip around my snoot, but she squeezes tighter. It actually says snoot. My snoot! Shush! I freeze in her arms. My eyes are wide and full alert, and my chest expands rapidly from my frantic breathing. Dove offers no form of comfort. Instead, she spares me one last glance before she throws me into darkness. I land on plush blankets with a small bounce and a slight yelp. I see a small glimpse of Dove staring down at me before she closes the gap between thick curtains of her canopied bed and extinguishes all of the light. It's like I've been thrown into a pit. My ears twitch at every subtle noise. The scent of wilting lilacs floods my senses. It's as if Dove sleeps with decaying flowers in her pillowcase every night. My heavy breathing sounds so loud in the darkness. I try to tame it as best I can, in fear that it can be heard beyond the curtains that shroud me. I hear Dove's bare feet drag along the wooden floor, then a click, then a creak. Then heavy footsteps enter the room. My bones nearly jump out of my skin from the sound of lightning that breaks through the quiet. Wasn't it clear just a moment ago? I swallow hard. New noises start to appear out of nowhere. Wind howls outside, so loud it's like ghosts humming in unison right outside the window, crying to be let in. Dove's bed curtains begin to ripple, revealing slivers of red light. I can't find Babel anywhere. My entire body tenses when footsteps land right in front of me. The curtains flicker again, and all I see is him. You wouldn't happen to know where they are, would you? Dove's father stares down at her from the tip of his nose. His hands are crossed behind his back. Did you check the... wrong character. Did you check the rooftop garden? Yes. How about the kitchen? Yes. Under the table, perhaps? Dove, enough of your games. The witch closes his eyes and rubs the bridge of his nose. Find that bloody ghost or I'll find a replacement. Is that a threat? Yes, Father. When he opens his eyes again, I see his eyes catch onto something I can't see. The tension in the room suddenly rises. Wait. The blanket on the floor. Fear begins to claw its way up my throat, threatening to spill out in a cry. The witch's eyes drag up towards Dove, then to the walls. He begins searching around the room. I stop breathing. The sound of the storm becomes muffled for a moment, amplifying the sound of every creak and heartbeat inside the house. The noise in the darkness of Dove's bed makes me go completely still.
It's like wood knocking together. And by the looks of it, I'm not the only one that's heard it. The witch stares directly into darkness between the curtains. My urgency to stay hidden, it isn't shared, it seems. Red eyes peer right at me. Every beat of my heart feels like an eternity passing by. Then he looks away. I think it's fair to consider myself the biggest fool of all time, considering where I've landed myself, but I'm not foolish enough to let out a breath of relief just yet. Right. Just one more thing. The witch reaches into his pocket and pulls out a small black pouch with dots of silver on it. I asked a sister to craft a small gift for you. I see him place the pouch in Dove's tiny hand. Then I hear the clinking of delicate metal. Thank you. The witch nods, then turns and makes his way out, finally disappearing from my view. Now go find Babel for me. I have much to do. Dove's door slams closed. Whatever hides with me rattles again from the vibrations of the door, and I take that as my cue to launch myself out from the canopy. I tumble out from the dark curtains and slam right into a pile of books, sending me into a dizzying heap on the floor. Once the ache of my body wanes, I shake my head and get my bearings back. Dove's room was already a mess, but now it looks like a hurricane swept through it. Whoops. Stacks of books have been shoved around and knocked over. Furniture has been pulled away from the walls and left askew. Loose sheets of paper cover huge sections of the floor, leaving little paths of clear floorboard left to walk on. How on earth did I sleep while she made this mess? I finally look for Dove and find her standing by the window. Rain beats violently against the glass panes. The storm outside rages in full force, and the temperature in the manor has dropped significantly since yesterday. Dove holds something up close to her face that reflects the bright white of the lightning outside. A bracelet. Tiny charms hang from the thin silver chain. A rose, a sun, a moon, and a heart. Dove seems completely enamored by it in a way I've never seen before. Pretty. I stare, captured by the sight of her. Warmth colors her pale cheeks, and a new brightness softens her eyes. My heart tightens. I've forgotten, or maybe I keep refusing to acknowledge it because I've had to rely on her confidence so much. But Dove is just a child, just like me. She's unsettling and abrasive, yet when I see her like this, or when I see her get excited over something, I want to look at her up close. Maybe to see whether I'm hallucinating or not. Or maybe because Dove burns like a star. Her face glows like a blinding light, and her hair is a dark expanse that cradles it. Before Dove, I've only ever known stars far from within my reach. Dove moves away from the window to the desk beside her bed. She sets the black pouch down, then places the bracelet on it like a display. She seems to like it a lot. Does she not want to wear it? Her attention has already moved on from it, however. Now what to do? Dove twirls around and faces me with her hand on her hips. There's no Babel to find. I perk up and my ears stand up straight. But there are other ghosts to find. And with that, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Make some ginger tea, warm myself up, you know. Alright, I'll put some music on for you guys. Hold up. I'm gonna turn this down. Okay, and then we will be back for about 40 more minutes after the break. Alright. hold on. My chair is in such a horrible spot. I thought I would be smart and like kind of wedge my desk so it's like in a bit of a square formation here. It's just such a tight space, especially with the cat tower right beside, like right next to it here. So I've got to squeeze in, and this chair is incredibly unforgiving.
And I got my ginger tea. Yay.
Ugh, fuck. It's not as good as it is. Ah. This is why I like to mix my ginger in with hot chocolate. Because sometimes standing alone is like way too much, even a little bit. It's like, oh God, why? Why do I do this to myself? Okay, ready for some more Dicentra? We've got 40 minutes of stream left, so let's get into it. My blanket. My blanket. God's chilly. Let us return. Once Dove gives the clear for us to move out of her room, the first thing I notice is how different the house has become once again. Like when I had first arrived, it's cold and threatening. All of Dove's efforts to make the mansion more homely seem to have been undone, as though it were nothing but an illusion spell. Dust cakes the floors, spiders crawl on webs in dark corners, and the windows cast red patches of light that do little to brighten its surroundings. I lead the way on cautious paws, vaguely remembering the way to the study. When we finally get there, I realize there's a problem. The study is now occupied. I peek through a crack in the door, and the witch busies himself with grinding herbs in a mortar. To his side, I see a floating quill pen, moving on its own, jotting down notes he mutters under his breath while he twists the pestle. I look under the desk he works at and spot the chest with the ghost's remains peering out of the shadows. The day after Babel left, Dove had returned to the study to put the chest back in its place. I didn't anticipate sharing the space with its owner so soon, so the thought of taking the chest didn't cross my mind. Gonna have to. Duff hovers above me and takes a glimpse inside as well. Her expression turns green with shock.
Wait, you're not thinking of getting the rest of the ghost's belongings, are you?
I nod eagerly. Her eyes grow wide.
Was Babel not enough?
I blink. What's wrong now? My brows pinch together. I shake my head and hear Dove's breath hitch. I look back to the chest. We can't just stop at one. Out of the corner of my eyes, I see Dove take a step back and twist her head to look at her. I twist my head to look back at her again. Her hands clutch around the skirt of her nightgown. She looks at me, conflicted. Not knowing how else to convince her, I slowly walk towards her. Dove stiffens as I approach her. I pause right before her, and she looks down at me in anticipation. I blink at her, then I brush my body against her legs. Dove gasps above me. I push against her and curl my tail around her ankles. Look how cute I am. Let's go destroy some ghosts. Come on. Dove stands as still as a statue as I run my fur around her legs, causing her to stumble slightly from the force she didn't expect me to use. After I finish circling her, I look up at her with bright eyes in hopes that this time I can get her to put her faith in me. Dove peers down at me with a blush on her cheeks before closing her eyes and taking a deep breath. She then pushes past me and enters the study. Father, water's dripping from the ceiling of the library. What? Hells, did the books get wet? Hurried footsteps make their way to the door, and I quickly scurry into the shadows to hide. The witch stomps out of the study with Dove hot on his heels. Good luck! She casts a quick glance at where I sulk before they both disappear down the hall. I waste no time running into the study. Now it's my turn. I'm breathing hard when I make my way back into Dove's bedroom. The second I shut the door with my back paw, I spit out the ghost's belongings from my mouth and wipe my tongue on the fur of my arm. I look at the pouch, bundle of hair and bone on the floor. Oh gods, I hope that wasn't disrespectful. I think it's fine. You're fine. You're fine. I twist my head to search around the room. Dove hasn't returned yet. Should I try to look for her? No. Or should I just burn these in one go? A knot forms in the pit of my stomach at the thought. No. Dove needs to be the one that does that. Feeling resolved, I pick up the artifacts with my teeth again and look for somewhere to hide them. My eyes land on my quilt on the floor and I pat over to it. Dig my nose under the cover to flip it over, then gently place the objects flat on the ground before flipping the corner back over them. That's conspicuous enough for now, I suppose. Hopefully by now the witch has returned to his study and will remain there busy with whatever he was doing. So I can go and find one of the ghosts. I gravely underestimated how easy it would be to find the other ghosts. Babel, like the hallway ghosts, seemed to have some semblance of a pattern. But the rest? Well, considering how little I know about them, they are proving to be much more difficult to pin down. I feel like I should have these nonsense hallways memorized by now, but I still find myself getting dizzy from walking through them in circles. I let out a huff in frustration as I quietly survey a hall from around a corner, only to find nothing once more. Stupid ghosts! Lisa's screaming at the door. A voice yells from down the hall and my heart all but leaps out of my chest. You must really like the feeling of falling. I have to send you flying again for you to learn how to stay out of my way. I don't recognize the voice, but the sound of dragging that follows it is awfully familiar. Grell! I quickly spin around and... Well now, who might you be? The air in my lungs feels like it's been punched out of me. A figure stands before me and looks down at me like a cat that enjoys playing with its food before it eats it. His eyes are wide and his smug grin is feral. Does Dove have a brother? Because this boy looks just like her. The only difference is a smudge of dark markings around his blood-red eyes. Oh, it can't be. There's another witch here. You're not like the other pets that she's tried to keep. The boy circles around my petrified form like a predator. Down the hall, I catch sight of Grell disappearing around a corner. I let out an internal cry, seeing the opportunity to catch it slip away from me. The child steps in front of me once again, blocking the way. Oh, I'm not a fan of intruders. He glances behind him. Or behind me. But fortunately for you, she is of a different opinion. Oh, hi! Nice of you to join me! My ears perk up at the sound of feet slapping on wood. A white gown takes over my vision as Dove skids to a stop in front of me. Her wild hair flutters like delicate feathers with the heavy breaths she makes. What are you doing? The boy grins and crosses his arms behind his back. Oh, nothing. I was just... The boy's eyes cut to me hiding behind Dove's skirt. His gaze is sharp like a knife. Saying hello. Dove's hands curl into fists. Just hello? The child chuckles. Well, it's far too early to say goodbye, isn't it? It seems like we've lured in something quite interesting this time. I swallow. We? Like, royal we? And the blood caps seem to be bluing well from the last one, so I have no need for this. He narrows his eyes at me. Yet. I can see Dove go rigid. The boy bends at the waist to see me better, but she steps in front of me to block his view. My, so protective of your new little pet, aren't you? He leans back again and retreats a step. Very well. He's a special one, I suppose. The glint in his eye makes me feel completely exposed.
I can't wait to see how long this one lasts.
Dove seems to take that as a sign to hightail it away from this boy as she sweeps me off the ground and crushes me against her chest.
Stay away from him.
As Dove carries me away, I keep eye contact with the boy, who maintains a sly smirk and watches the distance grow between us. No need to tell me twice. Just before we round a corner, I see the boy suddenly stumble forward and break into a violent cough. Dove's pace falters for a moment, but she manages to speed up to get us away faster.
There'll be a train! So we're going to wait. Son was talking.
Well, what do you guys think of this so far? I know it's not everybody's cup of tea. The fucking train is just going by. Reminder, I live by a train yard, so... you know. Yay. Oh shit, hold on. Have I been on the wrong thing this entire time over here? Oh my gosh, I have. Oops. Alright. Oh god. Itchy nose. No. Alright. I think the train is pretty much done with chonking. Dove has not spoken another word to me since we ran away from the boy in the hallway. Logically, that makes sense. I'm not human, after all. But that hasn't stopped her from doing it anyways. I still have yet to wrap my mind over the encounter with someone new. Someone who is a witch. I think some of Dove's stress is rubbing off on me. Dove has always been the most composed between us, so to see her acting so antsy has me incredibly on edge. Anything that worries her worries me even more. Dove sits where I now expect her to be most of the time, on the floor. I guess it shouldn't be surprising that the little side table she had previously repaired has fallen apart once again. Her solution to get it standing again is to slather it with a thick glob of glue and then wrap even more twine around it. This plan is not working as well as it did the first time. I can see Dove lose her patience with every new wrap around the broken wood with twine. I count every new impatient twirl Dove makes with the twine. 21, 22, 23... Oh. The twine ran out. Dove stares at the empty roll with a stunned expression. I feel anxious looking at her. Did she think it would go on forever? A shadow falls over her face. I brace myself. Dove. Dove shoots to her feet with the table in her hands and smashes it to pieces on the floor. I narrowly avoid the splinters of wood flying towards me. Dove stands up, panting and staring at the mess she's created. Stupid old... The broken leg of the side table hangs loosely in her hand, but not for long. Why must I always have to fix everything by myself? Her fingers wrap around it tightly, then without warning she throws it with all her might at the wall covered in mirrors. I wince. My ears flatten at the sound of glass shattering. And screeching. Dove's hands fly to her ears to smother the screams that come from the broken mirrors. She pinches her eyes together before opening them to throw a smoldering glare at the reflective shards. Quiet! I've never seen Dove lose her temper like this. Somehow I can almost completely ignore whatever on earth had created that screaming, which had quickly died down after Dove's scolding, in favor of watching her pace a circle into the floor. The more time I spend with Dove, the more she gives me with a side of her I've never seen before. At this point, I could fill a room of portraits displaying all of her complexities. Dove terrifies me so much. But at some point, the fear I felt for her changed from the kind that makes me want to run for the hills to the kind that makes me want to stay and see what happens. What do I do? What do I do? Dove gnaws on her thumbnail as she paces back and forth.
A deep wrinkle forms between her brows by the time she finally slows to a halt. Dove stops chewing on her nail and looks down at me. My eyes widen when I see the face she wears. I don't want to take you to... I see tears line Dove's eyes, and my heart sinks. She sniffles and wipes her face with the sleeves of her gown. The fear on her face disappears when she brings her arm back down. In its place is a fiery determination. Dove storms out of the room, leaving the dining room looking far more chaotic than when we had first arrived. Something about the sight makes my heart start to race. This whole time, I've been searching for any little crack in the wall that will lead to my freedom. Maybe I've been trying to break open the wrong thing. Dove makes her way to the supply closet in the hallway again. She yanks it open with both hands and hunches down to dig for something. Her eyes light up when she finally finds what she's looking for. I hear the sound of glass rattling. I brush against her side and look what she's found. Dove takes out a jar with what appears to be glass beads and charms. I tilt my head curiously. She retrieves a couple more items from the closet before we make the journey back to her bedroom. The moment we reach Dove's room, she makes her way to the clearest spot to sit on the floor and faces her back to me. I startle when I feel a lump underneath my blanket as I settle into it. Oh, that's right. The ghosts. I was so close to getting growled, but I think navigating the halls will be much more perilous with that strange boy roaming about. I don't know what his relationship with Dove is, but it's clear they're related. And honestly, I can't say I'm itching to learn more about him. The witch and the boy. All I need to know is that I should stay clear whenever they're near. I look to see what Dove is doing. She seems to be completely immersed in whatever she's doing. My eyes roam around the room. I spot a random book that had been thrown open, probably when Dove had decided to redecorate. Pulling myself forward on my paws, I scoot up to it and trail over the words on the open pages. A book on toxic plants. A yawn forces my jaws open. I blink at the drawings on the paper. Oh, I think I saw that flower in the rooftop garden. Done! My head snaps up. I fell asleep. The gentle tap of rain against the window is the first thing I notice as my senses come back to me from the fog asleep. My head turns to look outside. Surrounded by gray storm clouds, the moon continues to hold watch over the manor from the exact same spot as earlier. Everything about this place feels like I'm stuck in a nightmare. Maybe I'm actually still at home right now, being carried to bed by my grandmother, and this is all just a bad dream? No, I know better. In a world like this, monsters are as common as cats. A shuffling sound draws my eyes away from the window. I look over at Dove and watch as her back straightens. She stands and makes her way over to me, holding something in her hands. She kneels in front of me, looking nervously at her closed palms before opening them. The shadows from the storm clouds roll round the room like the reflections of waves on the ocean floor. Beams of moonlight break through and bounce off the object that hangs from Dove's fingers. It's a necklace. Messily arranged on a red string with mismatched glass beads that hug a small leaf ornament made of a shiny silver metal. The brightness of it contests the small smile Dove wears as she presents it to me. Red adorns her pale cheeks and forehead, sticking out so darkly she almost looks feverish. She sucks in a deep breath. Another deep breath. I can't do magic yet. She lowers her head, avoiding my gaze. But this will help protect you. I stare at Dove, dumbfounded. My heart beats hard in my chest. Dove's fingers trembled around the necklace she had made for me. For me. Aw. But what about her? Who protects you, Dove? I glance behind her. Beside the lock on your door. My eyes start to burn as I look back at her. She finally meets my gaze, waiting for my response. Accept it. The necklace looks so fragile. I wonder what was running through her head as she arranged every bead. Did she agonize over the colors, the shapes? If I've learned anything about Dove, it's that she seems to work hard at whatever she does, even if she's not that good at it. I study the necklace, trying to imagine every decision she had made. Actually, now that I look at it, the charm she put on the necklace almost looks like a basil leaf. Is that simply a coincidence? I slowly rise from the floor and step closer to Dove. She watches me anxiously and grips the necklace with white knuckles. I hold her blue eyes in mine. Then I lower my head towards her. I hear Dove breathe a sigh of relief. Aw. I close my eyes as she carefully brings the necklace over my head and places it around my neck. Somehow, the weight of the necklace helps me feel less vulnerable. Dove gives me a small smile and quickly pulls her hands back to her lap. The necklace holds no magic, but if Dove believes this can keep me safe, I want to believe her too. A loud noise bolts me awake. A quick glance at the window shows calamitous storm clouds that roar. Sorry. Storm clouds that roar and light up with branches of lightning. Rain drums against the window violently and wind makes the frame tremble. I can barely tell what time it is anymore. Loud music disrupts my thoughts. The song playing is scratchy and reverberates through the walls. I'm surprised I don't tremble from how thunderous it is. How topical. My ears press flat and I reach my paws up to dampen the blaring noise further. Loud thumps and a voice accompany the music. I watch the door and consider double-checking to see if it's locked. Fuck! Fuck's sake! My blood thunders in my ears. What on earth was going on? Lying so exposed on the floor makes my skin crawl. The air feels uncomfortably warm and damp. The heat makes everything in my vision shimmer like infernal illusions. I swallow and search for Dove in the darkness. Abnormal as she is, I can't imagine anyone being able to sleep in these conditions. When my ears pick up the sound of tapping, I know my suspicions are correct. I find Dove kneeling at the foot of her bed. The sight of slightly opened curtains behind her catches me off guard. It's heavily shadowed, but I think... It looks like something is moving inside of the canopy. Fear pulls my gaze away. I focus on what Dove is doing. The clouds part just enough to let a streak of red into the bedroom. The sight behind Dove makes my heart jump. Rotting limbs and branches of hands manifest out of the shadows. Not approaching, just lurking, and for some reason, they're very vocal tonight. Gurgling growls, strained groans, and the sound of grinding glass grow louder and louder as if competing against the other noises that violate the quiet of the night. My paw taps around my blanket until it finds a small lump. They're all gathered here. My eyes flick to Dove and widen when I see what she fiddles with. Dove's hand is a cross, or at least something crudely shaped like one. I'm unnerved by the sight of it. Dove tightly crosses together splintered wood with wires and string. She ties the wood together so tightly that chunks break off and litter the floor. Looks like one of the crosses in the graveyard outside. The only question is, who is it intended for? The sounds of the ghosts have started to muffle the loud music. I notice Duff's stiff expression starts to melt into something slightly more serene. My paw moves off the lump. Now is not a good time. My arms cross and I rest my head on them to watch Dove work. I don't think I'll be able to go back to sleep. I can't tell how much time has passed. The light of the moon shining into Dove's room has become our daylight as much as our moonlight. Whether it is truly day or night, it's impossible for me to tell. A couple of candles light up the room. I suppose all there is left to do is convince our brains that there is time to be awake. Dove sits at the window, completely focused on watching the trees like she's searching for something. She has the window open, allowing a cool breeze to blow in. When she notices me watching her, she pulls the window closed and stands, ready to start the day. No. But I can't sleep to get away from a nightmare. I've grown even more conscious of each second that passes ever since the witch and the boy have appeared. It feels like it's all counting down to something I cannot possibly predict. To waste time sitting around doing nothing feels like a death sentence. I stand, perked up and ready to go. She looks down at me. Ugh. He won't get in the way today. My head tilts in confusion, but Dove offers no explanation and simply makes her way out of the room. I slowly trail after her. Which he? We failed to find any ghosts so far today. I'd even looked for the big grandfather clock in the hallway to try and see what time it was, but its hands have stopped moving. I sulk on the kitchen floor while Dove sits nearby, half-heartedly trying to mend the mess I've made of the kitchen wall. Her hands make slow, untrained brush strokes, attempting to mimic the designs of the wallpaper and the spaces where my claws have torn through. I can see her mood drop with every shaky line and every uncontrolled bristle mark. She pulls her hand back to compare her clumsy floral paintings to the wallpaper, and her patience finally snaps. Dove throws the paintbrush onto the floor in resignation. Right as it meets the floor, I flinch. Dove doesn't. We both turn our heads towards the hallway. A coil of stress unravels in my gut. Is it the witch? Or the boy? Or is it a ghost? Dove doesn't take the time to weigh the odds like I do. Instead, she shoots up and goes to investigate. I steady my breathing and chase after her. I almost gag at what we find on the floor of the hallway. Wind howls as it creeps in through a shattered window. The corpse of a crow lays in a mangled and bloody heap before us. The most ominous detail is the lack of a head. Dove crouches down and gives it a nudge with an unreadable expression. I guess we should clean it up? No, wait, hold on. How did this even get here? Is this a regular occurrence around here as well? I don't have time to piece together a logical answer because we hear another crash just down the hall. We leave the bird as it is and track down the new noise. The same sight greets us once again. Broken window, dead, headless bird. Did we take a wrong turn and come back to the same hallway? I look up at Dove, searching for answers on her face. Her unreadable expression has started to crack, but it only reveals her own bewilderment. It sounds like every window in the house has just exploded, all the way down towards Dove's room. I follow Dove's hurried steps further into the mansion. Every new dead crow we pass instills new panic in me. We don't bother inspecting each one, they're all the same. Dove rushes past each broken window with quick glances and hisses every time she steps on a shard of glass. The last crow we find sits near the door of Dove's room. We're both breathing heavily as we finally take a moment to pause. The dead crow lays unmoving in a splattered pool of blood. The sight makes my body buzz with anxiety, which only feels heightened paired with lack of sleep. I don't need to look for an explanation anymore. The signs of a bad omen could not be clearer. My legs hold me up unsteadily. Dove tries to catch her breath as she observes the bird, followed by the red sky beyond the now broken window. A frown tugs her mouth down, and I can see sweat drip down the side of her face. We both flinch at the sound of a slight tap coming from inside her room. The fur along my spine bristles. I slowly inch forward, and Dove
limbs behind me. The ghost in Dove's room catches me by surprise, and I'm going to stop and take a sip of tea. Gotcha. Alright. I hear Dove's breath hitch when she spots it by her window. Its beak taps against the glass. Then the window creaks open. Oh god. Dove didn't lock it earlier. I watch in horror as Grell's limbs start to crawl up the seat of the window. No! Dove bursts forward with her hands outstretched, but she stops just short of touching the ghost. Her hands tremble with hesitation. I can barely breathe. Grell twists its head, as if to look at Dove one last time, before it finally throws itself out the window. Dove breaks out of her daze and surges ahead again, but she's too late. Her fingers barely even reach the wispy strings that protrude from Grell's long arms as it disappears to the ground below. She stumbles hard onto the window seat, bruising her knees. The sickly sound of crunching bones and splattering flesh reaches our ears. Dove gasps sharply. My eyes are wide, and I feel bile start to rise from my stomach. I approach the window with my heart threatening to explode out of my chest. Dove lifts herself and peers out the window. Her body goes stiff with dread. I let out a shuddering breath and then join her on the bench. When I look down, my stomach clenches. Grell makes broken wheezes where it lays. Its limbs are twisted, and its carnage paints the grass from where its head had crashed against the hard earth. I stare, frozen with morbid curiosity, as its legs twitch in an effort to get up again. Can't die if you're already dead. But you can suffer. Dove stumbles back from the window, no longer able to digest the sight of Grell's state of agony. Her feet dangle in my blankets and she falls backward on her rear. She whimpers from the ache, then blinks watery eyes at something. My eyes follow her line of sight and... a small bone sits uncovered on the floor. The tag attached to it with Grell's name... Train! Hey. Break! Because there's a train. Yippee. Hold up. Who keeps trying to fucking call me? It's Saturday. Why is somebody trying to call me? It's an unlisted number. From Nebraska! I don't know anybody from Nebraska. And I don't think you guys do either. Who the fuck would be calling me from Nebraska? So weird. That's so random. Maybe from Wisconsin, but Nebraska? The tag attached to it with Grell's name written on it quivers from the wind coming in through the window. I jump down from the window. Dove's face darkens, then she starts moving quickly. I press against the wall, trying not to get in the way as she paces around the room, gathering things. She grabs a small vial from a drawer, my empty meal dish, a lit candle, then finally Grell's bone. She kneels on the floor, shoving books and loose papers out of her way before setting down her materials. She throws the bone into the bowl and pours the liquid, which I'm assuming is some kind of oil, until it completely saturates it. I've only noticed now, but I think the bone might be one of the arm bones. And judging by its size and length, it does not belong to an adult. Dove grabs the candle and fixes her eyes on the bone before finally committing to the next step. Her jaw clenches. This whole time, you've only just wished to return home. How lucky you are to not belong here. Dove tips the candle into the dish and the bone erupts into flames. Grell's groans of pain echo in the silence. The bone does not burn easily.
I can see Dove's lack of patience as her fingers curl into her palms. In the fire, I can see a small bone fracture and hear it pop from the heat. The white bone chars into gray, then black. Its texture flakes and sizzles. Dove decides she's waited long enough. Without hesitation, she slams the other metal bowl over the flames and smothers it. When she's confident the fire has been put out, she lifts the lid. Smoke billows from the bowl, causing Dove to wave her hands and cough. The smoke escapes out the window. She takes one look at the burned bone before she dumps the crumbling remains on the floor. Dove takes a deep breath. Starts smashing the bone with the flat bottom of the bowl. My throat tightens and my ears fall from the sound of Dove crushing the bone. She grips the bowl with both hands, raises her arms, and brings it down again and again. The loud clanging makes me cringe back. I hear something that resembles the ring of wind chimes, but Dove does not stop. I watch in terror as Dove continues her beastly display. She only stops when her arms have finally turned numb and the bowl slips out of her fingers. Wind moves the ashes on the floor in a spiral. Dove pants heavily. Her eyes are completely dull. Silence fills the air. I hop onto the window seat. I know what I will see before I look down. Nothing. Not a trace of Grell remains. A soft gale brushes against my fur. I look up. The moon had seen it all. It glares down upon us, not in disgust, but in glee.
Skeleton Dance, played by the Edison Concert Band.
Okay. Make sure I saved it, actually. Yes? Okay. That is where we're gonna stop it here today. Oh, God. I need to get up and move, because I'm actually starting to get dizzy. Get up and move, get the blood flowing, all that fun stuff. And then I got some stuff I gotta work on before stream tomorrow. Hopefully we don't have as many problems with OBS. I don't know why it does that. This is so random that it's been having these issues. Now that I know it's OBS and not like crowd control and maybe not Smappy, I might be able to get some games working again. But, well, we'll play some more of this next Saturday if you guys are interested. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this little, basically story time. If you want more, there is a playlist you can go and watch on YouTube that I have set up. I played it from start to end. Maybe see if there's anything different pointed out next time we play, or do a live stream of this, if you fancy. Or you can keep it a secret and just wait until next time. Otherwise, I will be back tomorrow. We're going to be hanging out, doing the pre-patch for Midnight World of Warcraft and all that good stuff. And until then, yeah. I don't know. I have nothing else to say. I nothing else to blabber on about. I'm tired. My brain's shut. I don't typically do something like this, so it's like... I'm going to get up and go pace for a little bit and maybe do some chores. Until then, I will see you guys later. See you tomorrow. Fairly well. I'm going to stop yapping now. Goodbye. Have a good day.